Okay, everyone. If YouTube is to be trusted, I am now live. So welcome to the big show. We went live at 6:30. The first matchup actually doesn't take place until 6:45. So we're just giving you all some time to get in here and get ready. Get ready to rumble. Can you have the tournament link in the chat? I can work on finding that one for you. Although someone seems to have just retracted their message, which I think might have had the tournament link in it. Let's pull it up here. Let's pull it up. Pull it up. Okay. I've got it. Unless I'm told otherwise, I'm going to link it to you. Because why not? I think we are good to go here. What is the time control? It's a bit of a weird one today, Akarsh. Thanks for the question, though. The time control this evening is actually going to be 8 minutes with a 2-second increment. So about half the time of those normal Pro Chess League time controls. Now we have no fewer than 3 matches to play today. So there are, of course, 4 chess clubs or chess institutes in this round-robin matchup here. And we are going to play 1 match against each of them. And each match actually lasts for 2 rounds. There are 2 rounds in each match. Our players play 1 game with each color. Hello to I'm a Docs Gamer. Hello Lynn Spire. Hello Mahmoud. Seeing some familiar faces. How long is this tourney? Well, we're going to be here actually for quite a bit. I've got the details pulled up here. It looks like I'm going to have to pull up more details. There's so many details to be had, to be sure. The first round starts at 6:45, and I believe the last round starts at 8:20, which would put the second round beginning at the time of like 7:20 or so, 7:30. We'll say 7:30, 7:35, somewhere in there. So each round is looking to last around 40 to 45 minutes, I think. No longer than that. Probably around 40 minutes for each round, and there are 3 rounds. Hikaru is playing with which club? Sorry, so the round has not actually started yet. I'm just following the top game here on chess.com. We have 10 minutes until the round starts. The big name on our team is actually the one and only Jeffery Xiong. We have Jeffery Xiong playing for us for the St. Louis Chess Club. Shouldn't it take a ton of time? It's going to take a few hours. Yeah, going to be here a few hours. So 2 rounds of 8+2 in each match. And then when those matches conclude, we go on to round 2 against another team. Oh, I see the confusion now, Akarsh. So it's not a round robin in each match. Each match against the other chess club consists of 2 games. The round robin is actually between the clubs. So that means our club plays all the other clubs one time. Not all of our players play all of their players. That would be obscene. We'd be here for days. Yeah, the format is hopefully in the description. Other big news, like I said, Jeffery Xiong is on our team. We have quite a few players playing for us as well. Below there, we have some really impressive players. Let me pull up the roster here. There is a U2400 requirement for the next 4 players, and we have National Master Forrest Chen, International Master Dorsa Derek Shani, who of course has been on our lovely channels for the past month or so as Grandmaster in Residence. She will be playing for us. We also have National Master Julian Proleko. Julian, of course, the man of the Pro Chess League team of the St. Louis Archbishops, who has done quite a bit for us there. We also have National Master Nicholas Rosenthal. I believe Mr. Rosenthal is an aspiring Twitch streamer himself, so be sure to check him out. I believe his name is Froelich, and then some numbers that I can never remember. So Nick Rosenthal playing. U2200, we have the best player on our team, future world champion, Rachel Lee. After that, we have future world champion candidate, Luke Yi. These 2 kids are terrifying, and they're going to go really far in life, and they're going to beat everybody today. Keep an eye on that. Then we have chess club employee Eric Kachenko, who is getting a little bit too old to be a future world champion, but I'm sure he has a very promising chess career as well. And then after him, we also have Alex Zhang, another local kid who is a very impressive chess player and will likely go very, very far with his chess career. Then we have a U2000 requirement with some other famous faces. Frolik67 is Nick Rosenthal. Thank you, Akash. We have Ben Liu, a local. I guess he's a little old to be called a kid at this point, but he plays a lot of chess. We have the man in the shadows, the wolf man, Danny Machuca, playing for the U2000. We also have the one and only Arjun. Arjun is on U2000, as well as Aiden. A lot of kiddos on our team this week. U1800, we have Vinny Tadiparty, we have Pratik Namali, we have Aaron Lin, and Michael Pugachev. More players, I believe, from our Select Chess program for talented youths in the St. Louis area. U1600, we have Shengxi Li, who performed very well in the previous match against San Francisco. I believe he went 1-1 with a player almost 400 points higher rated than him, so impressive stuff. We have Ben Simon, who recently won our first ever viewer tournament of Chess 960, of Chess 960 fame, Ben Simon. We also have Nick Risco playing for us this week, Chess Club employee, founder of Chess Openings Abridged on the YouTube channel. We also have Jacob Sanders, who you may know from his famous match against Dennis LaRue. That was an incredible blitz bounty to watch. And then finally, we have the U1400 section with 4 more players from our Select Chess program. That is, of course, Isabel. Isabel, also known as Cupcake, who played for us last match. She did very well and had me shouting the word cupcake over and over again in excitement because she kept winning. We have Felix Zhang. We also have Araja Dewan and Jenna Song on our team to round out the roster here. And they will all be playing for us in multiple games. Checking back in here, we have 6 minutes and 42 seconds until the start. 6 minutes to go, and then we will be on our way. Any other questions about the format for me before we get going here? Because once we get going, it's going to be crazy. The time control is faster than the previous match, and there's, I think, even more games or just as many games. So it's going to be a fun one. It's going to be tough to cover. Probably we're going to stick mostly with Jeffery Xiong's game, because who doesn't love seeing Jeffery Xiong beat up on people? Okay. In the meantime, it looks like Hikaru's still playing chess. Everybody loves Hikaru. Other important information yet. Let's see if I can pull up some more stuff here regarding this online blitz match. So, of course, the 4 chess institutes in the match here. Fortunately, the engine's not running on Crash, so if it's being a bit slow, I can't really help it here. Can't really help it. I'll try closing any and all tabs that I am not presently really using. See how I'm doing now. I've closed some stuff. Hopefully it's a bit better. The other chess clubs, chess centers, chess institutes, what have you in this match are, of course, the San Francisco Mechanics. They are coming back for more after we destroyed them in the previous match. We also have the Marshall Chess Club playing this week, as well as the Charlotte Chess Center. So a lot of the top chess centers and clubs or institutes, what have you, in the country for chess, all in this event. So we'll definitely be looking to take them all down. No prize money this time around, just bragging rights. And of course, the St. Louis Chess Club is all about getting bragging rights. And we will be playing our utmost best here to try and win these matches. Yes, the Marshall Chess Club. The Marshall Chess Club. And looking at the Marshall Chess Club, it looks like they have a GM. Sorry, looking at the Mechanics Institute, rather. It looks like they have a GM already in the match. Jim Tarjan. I don't know I don't know how to say his name either. Looks kind of like Tarzan, but with a J. They have a Grandmaster on their top board. Let me Google this guy, see what we're working with here. Is he like famous? Ooh, okay. So his rating is actually under 2,400. So they might have another ringer coming in on board 1. This guy might not be their board 1, because he qualifies for U2400, I believe. Caro, the French player. That's him. Tarjan, the legend. Yeah, apparently he was, like, famous. I don't know my U.S. chess history, unfortunately. I'm embarrassed. I've been embarrassed. I'm not playing because Mike thinks I'm a better commentator than I am a player. And he might be right. Any standard viewer tourneys in the future? So, we loved doing the Chess 960 tournament. Had a great turnout. Over 100 people ended up playing in that one. And so we're definitely looking to do more of those, I think, on a regular basis. But nothing scheduled just yet. Nothing scheduled just yet. 2 minutes and 40 seconds to the start of this tournament. And I'm getting a little bit nervous because I am not seeing, I repeat, I am not yet seeing Jeffery Xiong in the event. Which is terrifying. He recently had a tournament where he beat Kramnik. Wow. Okay, I should probably know about this guy. Face all of the jungle, not only Tarjan. Alright. Mike hasn't seen Queen takes d4. Yeah, that's right. Maybe I should show him that game. I don't know how to convince Mike to put me on one of these teams. Like, I play in a Saturday night special, I beat all the Webster GMs, he's still not impressed. Just can't get this guy to get me on the team. You beat Unieski, Quesada, Perez, not enough. Not good enough. Not good enough. You beat a Ram Hakobian, World Youth Champion, not enough. Can't beat that guy. Not on the team yet. Still gotta talk about the games. Maybe someday. When will it begin? We have 1 minute and 30 seconds till the start of the event. Tarjan. Tarjan. Okay. Rhymes with Tarjan. Tarzan. Tarjan. It looks like Hikaru's got an A pawn here. Seems pretty good. 1 minute to the start of the event here. Once again, this is the first match of the event. There are 3 matches total. First up is the San Francisco Mechanics Chess Club. We are squaring off against them. And then we will be facing either the Marshall Chess Club or the Charlotte Chess Center. But by the end of it, we'll have played everybody. And hopefully have beaten everybody. Tournament link. I'm gonna link it to you after it's already in progress, because I don't want to mess anything up. I don't know if I can mess anything up, but either way, I don't want to mess anything up. Note there are 39 seconds to the start of this tournament, and I still do not see Jeffery Xiong here, which is terrifying. We need that guy. Commentating on a specific player? It just depends on how interesting the games are. Likely I'll have one game that is kind of my focus, so hopefully Jeffery Xiong's game, but then I'll likely skip around to a few other boards and maybe follow other games. It's going to be a long night. Thank you, I'm a Dox. Thank you. Doing good, something simple. Doing well. 8 seconds to the start of this event. Here we go. On our way. Alright, there's the tournament link. Oh, I'm apparently not allowed to post the tournament link. Unfortunate. Unfortunate. It looks like the games are officially in progress. Now, Jeffery Xiong is not here. So, looks like Nick Rosenthal is taking board 1 for the first round. We'll see how well he does here. Yeah. Alright, Nick Rosenthal against legendary Tim Tarjan. Tarjan, I'm told. Let's see what's going on here. Looks like an Italian game. Looks like an Italian. In the meantime, we also have Dorsa playing. Dorsa hates when you watch her games, so we'll be sure to keep an eye on this game as well. I think we're going to focus on these two for the first round and see how well we do. See how well we do. So far in Italian, Nick Rosenthal just taking it pretty simply here. He plays d3, he plays c3. Eventually, he's going to look to play a move like d4. Just the normal Italian plans. Bring this bishop out to e3 or g5, bring this knight out to d2, play rook e1, bring the knight to g3, things like that. The things you have hopefully seen hundreds of times before. Everybody loves the gioco piano. And we have black actually breaking in the center pretty early on with d5, before white ever gets a chance to play these kinds of things. So now, the problem with d5 is it always leaves this e-pawn feeling just a little bit weak. Now you might make fun of me for not knowing all of the theory here, but that's kind of the idea. You know, I don't know the specifics on how black's supposed to defend this pawn, but this pawn just feels a little bit weak with the open e-file now and no d-pawn to support it. It's also a little bit tough to play the move f6 here because you open up this diagonal in front of your king. So bishop g4 nicely looks to remove an attacker from this e-pawn. Looks like now black is committed to taking on f3. If black steps up, you might even see a g5 move. Then if bishop g6, suddenly this pawn on e5 is going to fall. So I think bishop takes f3 is the move here, unless, oh, we do see bishop f5. Or bishop h5 rather. Will white go for this g4 move, I wonder? It looks a little bit shaky. Looks a little bit shaky to weaken the king side like this, but, I mean, a pawn is a pawn. This is Nick Rosenthal's decision early on. What will he do here? What will he do? Of course, black is going to get some compensation for this pawn. If you do play g4, bishop g6, and knight takes e5, well, already there's probably moves like bishop d6, although you can't really leave this knight behind. So g4, bishop g6 is definitely going to be the main variation that Nick is thinking about here. If he doesn't like it, you can just kind of go back to simple chess with knight d2. But he goes for g4, and I think this is good for white, to be honest with you. I don't see why white shouldn't just take this free pawn on e5, and this is Nick Rosenthal's idea. If you play g4, you're definitely taking on e5. And we'll see what Jim Tarjan had in mind. Can't say that guy's name. I'm the worst. Grand Mechanic, Grandmaster, all the general, all the grands. Maybe also General Manager. I don't know. I don't know nothing about nothing. This bishop looks like it's attacked. Probably we need to move it out of the way. And I guess this is Jim's simple idea here. He just wants to put a bishop on d6 and go for this pressure on these newly weakened squares on the king side. I suppose knight d2 is worth considering as well. It hangs d3 though, so I don't really like it. Maybe queen e2 is the move that Nick is thinking about, but you're really just taking away retreating squares from your rook at that point. I think bishop e3 should be played. I think Nick should also pick up the pace a little bit. It's definitely a complex position, and we're spending a little bit of time, but it's game in 8 minutes here. You have to go fast. Okay, somehow we've already scored a point, though. How have we already scored a point? I don't understand. We're up 1-0, and the match just started. Okay, I don't see any wins for us, actually. Okay, here we go. It's just come on the screen. Nick Risco has actually already won his game. Nick Risco with the first blood of the match here. While Nick is thinking, why don't we see how Nick won his game so quickly? Oh, okay, it looks like I figured out how Nick won his game so quickly here. He played queen e4 after castles, and black missed it. That's a checkmate. Good job to Nick. Drawing first blood in this event. Okay, queen f3 by Nick Rosenthal here. I guess I like this move a little bit. It's a bit more active than just drawing the bishop back. Nick isn't worried so much about takes and takes, although maybe I am. This was actually a really important bishop, and maybe I would have liked to keep it. I guess the problem is that this pawn simply hangs if you do play bishop b3. So Nick is trying to hold on to the extra pawn here. It's going to come at the expense of some activity, though. These two bishops are going to become very, very active, and white's going to have to really keep track of those. So we do see knight takes and pawn takes. And the question now for white is, can he develop this queen side? If white gets fully developed, gets moves like bishop f4, moves like knight d2 and knight f1 in, and especially bringing this other rook to the center, then I think white should be doing just fine up the pawn. But black has a few moves to decide what he wants to do. He needs to take pretty immediate advantage of this lead in development here, or else white is simply going to get developed, going to consolidate, and will be up one extra pawn. So bishop d6, rook e1 makes the most sense. Maybe rook e8 now by black, but it would be met with a timely bishop e3 when knight d2 is difficult to stop. Perhaps Nick is in fact getting developed. Now of course it's not so simple as just an easy extra pawn here, as black does have the two bishops, and white has created a few weaknesses around the king. Yeah, very, very dangerous stuff here. Let's check in on Dorsa's game. Let's see, we had, of course, the classical Nimzo Indian, and Dorsa took a conservative approach to the center, not going crazy with stuff like e4, just e3, and guard all your center squares. Get castled, and now e5 from black. Black fighting for the dark squares. Knight d5 comes on the board now that white is no longer pinned. And a4 from black. I'm really... oh, okay. I got the colors wrong. Dorsa has black. Okay, so black... Dorsa goes now for c5 with the dark square approach. But isn't the pawn on e5 just hanging? I really wonder. Isn't the pawn on e5 hanging for free? Dorsa, what happened? I guess you just can't play c5 here. Why? Okay. Well, the knight's hanging, so you have to play c5. So I guess it was all just misguided here. a4 seemed weird, was weird, and might now just be losing a pawn to knight takes e5 here. Unless Dorsa has like some tricks, like you can't play knight takes because of knight e4, but yeah, simply queen takes. And now I don't see anything better than taking back, and white is going to be a pawn to the good. It's checking back in on Nick now. He really needs to pick up the pace. Bishop e3 is a very natural move, and I think it should be played just quite quickly. I'm now noticing that bishop g4 is likely the problem. Bishop e4 is probably giving Nick some pause here. So he goes for rook e3 instead. Okay, but now simply a bishop c5 I think is going to come, and there's no way to maintain this rook on this file. Maybe bishop c5 here. Bishop c5, take, then bishop e3, then there's still a bishop e4. I don't know, queen g3 there, queen d, it just looks awkward. Looks quite awkward. You have to block this file, or else you're going to get killed by queen e1. I guess knight d2 might be playable, but yeah, bishop e3 is most natural. Now this move. I think the response has to be queen g3, and against bishop d6, can you really play bishop f4? I wonder. It's hanging by a thread here for Nick Rosenthal. Hanging by a thread. Hanging by a thread. We see the Grandmaster actually just take this bishop off on e3. And I don't know if I agree with this decision. What he's doing is simply going in for a better endgame. Queen takes, you can expect to see queen takes, pawn takes, and then a move like rook d8. And the point is, while you develop this knight, this rook gets into to d2. It does just feel like he might have sold his position a little bit short. I actually think Nick was in quite a bit of trouble with these two bishops raking across the board, and this endgame is definitely not the worst thing to ever happen to the white pieces. White does, for the moment, maintain his extra pawn. Yeah, and the score is actually up to 4-1. Why don't we see where these results are coming from? First of all, I expect b3 here. Knight b5 is also a consideration, but why not just play b3? Well, actually, I think you have to play knight b5. I take it all back. If you play b3, then a move like a6. Oh, gosh. Okay, b4 is trying to respond to a6 with b5, or maybe even c5. Yeah, okay. So this is the point. I was worried about this knight getting trapped, but c5 and knight c4 is his plan. In the meantime, it looks like, unfortunately, Vinny has lost his first game to WCM Harker Chess. In the meantime, wow, we have a player who has defeated his opponent in both games already. Who is PR Chess 2016? I wonder. What player is right below Nick Risco? I don't have all the players' chess.com usernames, so it's a little bit tough for me on occasion to figure out who is who. But whoever PR Chess 2016 is, he just destroyed Daniel Perlov in both games. Easy 2-0. And Jenna Song has also won her first game, so we are dominating them on the lower boards right now. b3, rook d4. I don't understand. I don't understand what rook d4 is. Maybe you meant rook d3. Yeah, rook d3, I'm not so worried about giving the pawn back here. I'm not as worried about that. It's about getting these pieces in the game. And yeah, he's actually still going for some kind of attack now. Knight c4, there's a check. King f1 will have to be played. And you have to be a little bit wary of this diagonal. Just a little bit careful. And wait a second. No, this is just dead, right? This is just dead. White is losing an exchange at the very least. Rook h1 is a powerful threat. Rook h1 is a powerful threat. You have to play rook d1 to guard the d3 square, but then rook h1, king e2, and bishop f3 is at least winning an exchange. Potentially more. Potentially more. Looks like this one is not going Nick's way. You have to play rook d1 here. There's no other move. And then rook h1 and bishop f3 is enough to win material. Be nicer to my knuckles? Sorry, Brian. I try. Oh, but this just... Okay, so this is trying to respond to bishop d3 with king g1, but something should be wrong here. Something should be wrong. Something must be wrong. Something must be wrong here. If nothing else, check king g1 and rook takes h3. Nick's putting up a fight though, making him work for it. And just rook takes h3 first, but now perhaps the white pieces are in fact going to get into the game. Definitely still a tough endgame for Nick. He's been a bit on the back foot ever since first capturing that pawn. Okay, now g5 comes on the board. I suppose rook d1 will be the next move. I think black is still somehow trying to checkmate white, which is, it's a little bit funny. Black, though, also just makes lift with g5 and prepares to make some passed pawns with a move like h5. h5 might actually be played immediately. He gives the check instead. King g3 is forced. Rook g2 puts the king in a box, but perhaps just rook takes a2 now. Probably just rook takes a2. Okay, rook g2 and then rook takes a2 might be an improvement. If you don't move this rook, then rook d4 is going to come on the board, and this bishop is going to get harassed. No matter where it goes, knight e5 will make sure this bishop can't stay connected to the rook. So rook takes a2 seems like the only move. Perhaps he's thinking about h5 now, actually. H5 is interesting. Threatens checkmate, so it's a pretty immediate threat that you have to look out for. Knight e5 might be played, but that runs into f6, but that runs into rook here, then takes. It's looking a little bit hairy. So rook takes a2 instead, not going for those crazy lines. Now, I expect a move like rook d7 to come on the board. Rook d7 might be played, but once again, h5 threats are going to come. You could also play a move like rook d4 here if you're really worried about the location of this bishop. Make this bishop move around a little bit. Likely it'll come back to c6, where it can keep an eye on the d7 square. So Nick just goes for this immediately instead now. Knight e5 is a threat. Rook takes c7 is a threat. He's battling back here. He's definitely battling back. And now Jim taking his time. Okay, rook c2 goes after the c3 pawn, and then immediately afterwards it will go after the e3 pawn as well. I expect knight e5 now from Nick. Bishop g6 must be black's idea to stop rook takes f7. I don't think you can really just play rook takes c3 in response. We'll take f7, we'll take c7. Okay, and he goes for this now. But this gives up quite a lot, actually. Now, whenever you play knight d6 or knight e5, there's bishop d5. And g6 is a much worse square than d5 is. So, actually though, okay, there's just knight takes b7. I keep doubting Nick, but Nick seems to be finding ways to survive. Knight takes b7 is going to be quite risky, actually, for black. Oh my gosh! What? Alright, Nick Rosenthal's the best. Never doubted him. Never doubted him. And Dorsa seems to have drawn her first game, actually, with her opponent and is in her second game. So well done to Dorsa. Thought that game actually looked a little bit tough for her, going down that pawn. Let's see how that actually ended up. So we left off here. Knight c2 was the idea. Rook b1, knight back to b4. And she simply collects this a2 pawn. Interesting. And then from there, she got active, got the rooks in, and managed to draw this endgame. Well done to Dorsa. Back to this game, Nick Rosenthal is now up a rook. So, I think he's doing well. Why don't we check in on our board 2, which is, of course, Julian Proleka. I expect Nick to win this game easily. Okay, Julian. With the black pieces here against Webkins. Never doubt a knight. It's a good point. That's a good point. Julian also seems to be down a little bit of material here, down a pawn. And this e-pawn for white is quite frightening. I find myself quite frightened by it. But he does have a strong bishop on d4 and an active rook on g1. Now, if I'm white, I'm calculating e6 here. This is the main move you have to be calculating. If e6 wins, then you play it. If it doesn't, then you don't. So king d5 instead. I don't think e6 was a good move. So well done to Webkins. Now, e6 does come on the board since this king has removed itself from the threat of the check. Yeah, bishop e7 is trying to hold on to this pawn. But now the king gets to d7, and this is looking tough. Looking tough. I think the best that black can hope for here is trying to sacrifice this bishop and get into some kind of endgame that's not totally lost. e7 now wins the bishop by force, so I think e7 should be played, and this endgame should be lost, unfortunately for Julian. I really don't know why e7 isn't being played. Perhaps he's calculating rook takes f6, but yeah, just e7 here. Just e7. Simple enough. You have to give up the bishop, nothing else. And it's going to be a loss. Unless Julian somehow swindles his way into a draw here, but I don't expect it. Dorsa, unfortunately, lost her second game. Somehow, someway. Dorsa resigned this position. I'm confused. What happened? Why did Dorsa resign this position? What the heck? Is that true? Knight d4, white resigns. What's going on here? I think some misclick? I don't know. Very strange stuff from Dorsa. The total match score now is 14.5 to 8.5. And take note here, the match score is actually going to be really relevant. The total scoring is not done by how many matches you win, but rather your game points in each match. So we want to kill them as much as we can, score as many points as possible. I also wanted to mention that I think... who is this player? Forrest Chen. I think Forrest Chen has also won his first game, as Nick Rosenthal did as well, scoring a full point against the legend, GM Tarjan. Okay, who do we want to follow? Why don't we follow someone new? Why don't we follow someone new? Let's see how Forrest Chen is doing in this game as well. He has the black pieces here, so I'll flip the board. It looks like he's doing a-okay. I think I like black's position here. Material is even. Black has this weakness on e6, but white has this weakness on f2. Both sides with a half-open file, kind of for compensation. This bishop on f7 is doing a great job of holding down this weakness. Expect black to play e5 in the near future. Black's going to play e5. Going to bring this knight out to e5 and break down the support on this f-file, getting rid of his only weakness. I'm around 2200, Rahul. Dingler accidentally resigned against MVL today. That is crazy, Asish. That is crazy. Okay, so white's trying to figure out how he's going to stop e5. I don't think white can stop e5, and this is likely the problem with his position. e5, though, there are some weird tactics. You have to look out for bishop f5. Looking at this guy on d7. something like e4, bishop takes knight, and it's getting a little bit complicated. So I'm not totally convinced black can play e5 immediately. Bishop f5, there might be bishop e6, but then your queen's going to be opposite this rook here, and it's going to be tough. Going to be tough. So I'm sure Forrest is calculating e5 now. Sorry, back to the match score here. The total score is now 14.5 to 10.5. There are 50 total points up for grabs in this match. There's 25 games and 25 players on our team and 2 games each. Let me just do a quick count because we do seem to be missing Jeffery Xiong. Make sure we still have 25. That's 5 there, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So there's only 24 players in the match, as Jeffery Xiong did not seem to make it in time. So that means 48 points up for grabs rather than the original 50. So 48 points total that we could score. And the score is now 15.5 to 11.5. So to get a majority, we are going to need 24 total points. 24.5 rather. So it looks like e5 was played. White did not actually go for this bishop f5 line. I wonder why. I think this was the main problem with e5, but rather the players simply took on e5. Now black with 2 bishops, pressure on the f file, pressure on the b pawn is, I think, just going to be doing quite well in this game. In fact, I believe black is close to winning here. Close to winning with this positional advantage. Knight f3 is holding on to everything, blocking this file, and defending laterally here. So bishop d6 instead. Ah, I see, Dorsa. That is a shame. That is a shame. Okay, we have bishop d6. So yeah, black is just going to sit on this 2-bishop advantage, bring the rooks into the game. Perhaps rook c8 will come on the board next. Bishop c5 is also an idea to start attacking this guy. Even crazy stuff like g4, g5 might come on the board, just to shake loose this knight. White seems to be taking control of the e file, but these bishops do a really great job of guarding all of the entry squares, so not the most threatening thing going on here with these rooks. Bishop c5 is black's choice, once again just putting more pressure on f2. I'd really like to see a way to activate this bishop, and for that reason you might expect to see a move like bishop h5 coming soon. Bishop f5 hits this rook, rook d8, helps support the isolated pawn. Yeah, there are more rounds, Dorsa. There are more rounds. Bishop e6 is on the board. We can take this bishop if we want. Rook to e6 is going to come on the board. So white is neutralizing the 2 bishops here. But the dark square bishop that remains is going to be quite strong. Going to be quite strong for black. I really like Forrest's position here. Jumping back in, let's check back in on our board 1, Nick Rosenthal here. It looks like this is not going to be it for white, actually. Nick has black. I always mess this up. I don't know why they put our players at the top sometimes, but okay. Well, I do know why. It's because they have the black pieces, but this is looking really dangerous for white here. Knight to d5 is trying to trade off this e3 knight. If queen takes g3, we are threatening the f2 rook. If knight takes e3, simply queen takes f2, and I think that looks quite good for black, this lane. So queen takes g3. I wonder if king g1 is going to be the move. However, king g1 seems to allow knight g4 with other threats. So we do see this line come on the board. I think now white might have to take this knight, but the problem for white is even by giving this material back, you're not really getting rid of the attack. You're still going to be under quite a lot of pressure. And I don't see a way out for white here. I think Nick Rosenthal is doing a really great job against the Grandmaster and might be walking away with 2 points. So yeah, we have knight takes e3, now queen takes f2 will be played. Knight takes g2 is the best move. I'm not so convinced, because knight takes g2 doesn't really actually make any threats. The square is defended enough times, simply king takes, I think. So I like the way Nick played it here. Knight takes e3, gotta be queen takes f2. I don't know what else Nick is considering. If you play rook takes e3, I don't think you have a checkmate there. So yeah, queen f2 comes on the board, taking off this rook. Now this knight is in fact hanging. There are still threats like queen h4. This bishop still is on the board, guarding the g1 square indirectly. Expect to see black to bring the other rooks into the game, and I think this is just going to be a crush. So knight f5, I expect rook a to d8 now. Just getting more rooks in the game. White might be playing rook f1 next turn though, and this could be an issue for us if we don't give our queen any flight squares. So maybe this is what Nick has to deal with. No, rook d8, and now if rook f1, what is his idea? What's the plan here? I don't see it. Okay, it looks a little strange, but maybe simply bishop takes d4 in that case. If rook takes f2, bishop takes f2. And we have a very strange material imbalance that is slightly in white's favor, but if rook d1 check comes on the board, I think it might just be winning. We'll see. We'll see. Rook f1 has to be the try here. I'm not sure what else can be played if not rook f1. Rook f1, there might be rook e2 tactics, but simply queen takes e2, I think, is enough to make you reject that line. Yeah, so rook f1 comes on the board, and now we shall see Nick's plan. We shall see. I think this bishop takes d4 might be the best. Might be the best we can do here. Okay, maybe rook takes e2, queen takes e2, queen takes e2, knight takes e2, bishop takes e2, rook somewhere, rook here. It's just down a full piece there, unfortunately. Just going to be down a full piece if you go for that line. Maybe queen takes e2. Yeah, simply queen takes e2. You guys are right. That one does seem to hold everything together. For some reason, I didn't consider this one. Now you don't lose the exchange back. You can just take back with the bishop on e2 rather than with the rook. And so black is holding onto the material. So what are we left with after bishop takes e2? Well, it looks like there's a g7 pawn hanging. I'm so confused all the time. My life is so confusing. There's a g7 pawn, but what? But rook d2. If you take g7, then probably rook d to d2, and you're crashing through on the second rank. Boom, wasted. Alright, got him. Talia's calling it. Talia's calling it. You have to take this bishop on e2. I don't know what the big grandmaster is thinking about here. If you don't take this bishop, I don't think you can win this game. The match score is up to 19-15 in our favor. He says simply a lot. I kind of do actually. Maybe it's a problem. Rook c1 instead. I don't believe it. You can't leave black with these bishops. I guess he's trying to keep more pieces on the board, keep chances alive, but this bishop on e2 is going to be a good piece for black. Okay, he just takes b7. Does g6 win, or is g6 a losing attempt? G6, knight H6, king G7 perhaps, knight takes E2, knight takes H6. Okay, Nick's not having it. Not having it. Just plays bishop D3. Just plays bishop D3. I like it. I think black has too many extra pawns here on the king side for white to be surviving this. Black has too many pawns, and the king is too safe. Okay, maybe now bishop e4 check. Just to give this rook a square and start making a threat. Two knights for white are tricky, though. That's fair enough. I really like this move, bishop e4. Just get rid of this light squared bishop. I know I said white should have taken on e2 to get rid of this bishop, but now I think it's black who wants to get rid of this bishop with bishop e4. This move is check. You have to take, or I guess you can move, but then I'll simply take here, simply, and come crashing through. Bishop takes d4 instead. Okay, so this is just attempting to trade even more pieces. I still think bishop e4 is going to come on the board. Black is kind of just trading down here. Bishop e4, I like quite a bit. We have takes and takes. Okay, f4 is hanging, so knight c6. If you play rook c8, you lose the game, so don't play rook c8, and then you don't lose the game. Okay, rook e8's good. You got to keep an eye on this back rank for the moment. That's kind of white's only trick. I expect the move f6 to come soon, taking away the e5 square from both bishop and the knight. And then you can start thinking about things like rook takes f4. Don't play rook takes f4 here. Knight e7 might be a little bit awkward. Well, if you take knight e7, king f8, or even king h8, maybe you can just take this pawn. Maybe that's just a pawn. Nick does, in fact, capture. And white doesn't even go for knight e7. The tricks are too cheap here. The tricks are too cheap for white to play. Okay. Now moves like checks start to become interesting. If I'm the black player here, I'm trying to checkmate white. I think easiest might simply just be pushing. Simply. Just gotta push these pawns. Okay, white, in the meantime, though, is going to be trying to push with b5, b6, and this is a little bit fast. This is a little bit too fast for my taste. This looks a little bit scary over there. So, what do we do? Rook g6 seems to make a threat. Rook g6, simply b5, simply. Then check. Here, takes. Are you stopping this pawn? Are you stopping this pawn? I'm not so sure. Not so sure. King h7. I don't know about king h7. Seems a little slow. Seems a little slow here. Ah, okay. Maybe this move? No, not that move? Okay. Oh no. Oh god. Okay, well, Nick's down a bishop now. Unfortunately, this box is not true because white steps here next turn and is just gonna promote. That's not so good. That's not so good. What went wrong? This b pawn just came out of nowhere. B pawn just came out of nowhere. I think this move, giving up this a pawn was a little bit too friendly, I think. Just a little bit too friendly. And yeah, Nick has, in fact, resigned this game. Note, though, we are already up to 26 points, which is enough for a majority in this match, but a majority is not good enough. We need more points. Let's check in on Julian Perleco's game, who is looking for revenge against Webkins here. Looks like his position is pretty decent here. I think white is doing quite well. Black, of course, cannot allow for the rook trade because then the white king is going to get very, very active and may end up just winning the game. For example, if the rooks trade, then king e3, king d4, and the game is more or less over. So it looks like they go for a repetition here. Julian unwilling to allow this rook to get active, black unwilling to allow the king to get active, ends up just being a draw. Okay. Looks like most of the games have actually already been decided. Note that Forrest has actually won both of his games. We had that unfortunate resignation from Dorsa. Wolf Team 2018 has 1.5 out of 2. Eric has 1 and 1. Unfortunately, Unforced Errors lost both games. Arjun seems to have only scored a half point, but no worries there. Looks like the next best game in progress is this game by Luke Yi. Luke Yi with the white pieces here seems to be trying to hold a draw. We'll see if he succeeds in his quest here to hold a draw in this position. This is looking dangerous, looking quite dangerous. Opposite colored bishops are going to be white's only hope in this case. If white can somehow hold a miracle draw, that's going to be with because of the opposite colored bishops. So look to expect white to set up some kind of dark square blockade here. This move feels wrong. I think you simply should just take, simply, very simply, and then bring the king in with something like king d5. But instead, we have this position now. If I'm white, I'm 100% going to take on g5. Okay, bishop b2 instead. Not takes on g5. Interesting. So bishop b2 is keeping an eye on this pawn. And bishop c3 will come next. And now, because black brought the king back to f7, honestly, I like white's holding chances a lot more. A big problem is this pawn here on g4 being stuck in a light square. But I think with the king on f3, okay, you have to take this. This bishop comes to c3 now. I don't know what the black king is doing over here, to be honest. I don't know what's going on with this. Okay, it's shuffle time for white here. Shuffle with the bishop. Wait for f5, I suppose. And black should definitely start bringing this. Well, okay, a5 is ridiculous. What is a5? Bishop c3 now, and you have to play a4, and then it's all the more difficult to start pushing those pawns. Wow, b4. So this is a little bit too friendly, giving up a pawn here, or not giving up a pawn. Well, yes, giving up a pawn, but not recapturing. Now a4. This b pawn is going to be something for black to worry about. This is by no means even close to winning now for black. No way black wins this game at this point. White just shuffles, bishop a1, bishop c3, and it's over. And it should be over. Okay, bishop a1. Does the black king get in? I don't think so. I hope not. If king d5 here, just expect to see the move king e3. I would expect king e3 anyways, actually. Just stay calm, stay safe. King e3, and yeah, no, king d4 is going to come, unless you play king d5, and that simply just gives up this pawn. So yeah, bishop takes f6 now, and is white even worse? I don't think so. Is white playing for a win? White might be playing for a win. Oh my gosh. Obviously, the position is a dead draw, but now it seems like white's pawns are the more threatening ones. Okay, what is this? He wants to trade off these pawns. This is black kind of giving up. Should just be a draw now. Just a draw. The nice part of this position is you put the king on a1, and then you sacrifice your bishop, and then you sacrifice your pawn, and then you can pre-move the rest of the game. Hello, Matthew. Hello, and hello to Savannah. All right, that is a draw. And now I believe that might have been the last game. No, that is in fact the last game of the match. We win by 8 points in this one, getting 28 of 48 possible points here. So, not a bad start at all from the St. Louis team. I feel like the strategy here is just going to be get solid scores against all the teams. You don't have to try to kill them, but due to the format of this event, of course, sorry, I'm getting distracted here trying to set things up. Due to the format of this event, it is really critical to score as many points as possible in each round. The total score, rather, is not determined by whether or not you win the match, but by your total game points scored. So our score so far is 28. It's curious, I'm actually curious what score the other teams have, and I'm going to find out right now. I'm going to find out. Hopefully I can do it. Hopefully I can do it. It looks like... What does it look like? What does it look like? Ooh, it looks like the Charlotte Chess Center is actually beating us by a point after the first round. Charlotte scored 1 point better against the Marshall Chess Club than we did against our round 1 opponent, the San Francisco Mechanics. So the Marshall Chess Club right now has 19 points. The Charlotte Chess Center has 29. So we are a point back. And I guess it seems like the Charlotte Chess Center is going to be the team to beat going into the final round. And they are our final round opponent. So it'll be really interesting to see that last round matchup. It should be a battle for first place if all goes well against the Marshall Chess Club here. Can't access the other match. I believe this is the match here. Oh, I can't put links in the chat. Let me try here. Let me try here. Okay, I can't do it. I can't link you the match. But trust me, it is 29-19 in that other match. We now have 7 minutes for a little bit of a break in between this match and the next one. So we shall see what we can do here. It looks like we do finally have Jeffery Xiong in the match. Note that we won that last match 28-20 without Jeffrey. We didn't need him. Nick Rosenthal on board 1 went 1-1 and scored enough points for us. Okay. Did not need Jeffrey in round 1. So think of how many points we're going to score with Jeffrey here. Hopefully 2 more. Put points in it. I'm not gonna bother Bilal. Not gonna bother. The score so far, of course, is 28 for us, 29 for Charlotte, and 19 for the Marshalls. Of course, that leaves the San Francisco Mechanics with 20 points. So like I said, Charlotte Chess Center going to be the team to beat here, I think. Going to be the team to beat. First, though, we have to kind of prove our worth against the Marshall Chess Club. Have to prove our worth. So who is Real Boy? Let's find out. Who are you, Real Boy? Who is board 1 for the Marshall Chess Club? Looks like Grandmaster Khamrakulov Djurabek from Uzbekistan, now living in New York. Very strong player. Let's Google him. Let's spell his name right, hopefully. Let's Google him. Head hurts, but you want to watch this match? Everybody does. Everybody does. Looks like this guy's FIDE rating is just over 2,500. Should be no match for 2,700 plus player Jeffery Xiong. Although, who is a match for Jeffery Xiong these days? Nobody. Absolutely nobody. Unless you got Magnus Carlsen on your team. Good luck. So we have a 5 minutes left until this one gets started here. Marshall will be looking for better performance. Yeah, they're definitely going to be looking to come back a little bit stronger than they looked in that first match, where they only scored 19 points. Be on the lookout this time around for Dorsa, who hopefully will no longer resign by mistake. That was a problem in the first match. Just think, if Dorsa didn't accidentally resign her game, we could be tied for first right now. Could be tied for first. Every point matters. Every point matters. Any USCF rated tournaments online? I believe they have an online rating for USCF, and there are ways to organize those tournaments. But it's kind of crazy stuff. I don't know if that's something we're looking to do. Okay, just patiently awaiting this round to get underway here. Araja, yes. Because you might not get an opponent? Oh, you probably will. If all goes well, you will. Yeah, Marshall is the main Manhattan chess club. That is accurate. It's the big New York club. It's the big one. All right, 3 minutes to go, and it looks like the Marshall Chess Club is missing 2 players. So, that's good news. That's good news. It seemed like the lower boards were really where we excelled in that past match. We were kind of doing quite well on the lower boards, so we'll look to do that again here. Note that just because we have Jeffery Xiong doesn't mean we're just gonna kill the match here. Because Jeffrey can only score a maximum of 2 points for us, and that's just not enough to win a match. Thank you, Savannah Manhattan, for the $1. Thank you, thank you. Okay, 2 minutes to the start here. 2 minutes to the start. Of course, I will be following Jeffery Xiong to start with. Going to be a really interesting matchup here against this... sorry, was it Uzbekistan? Uzbekistani? Looks like Uzbekistan. This Uzbekistani Grandmaster. Just a minute 30 to go. There's no I in team, but there is I in quarantine. It's a good saying. It's a good saying. All right. Who else should we follow? Who do you think we should be following here? Oh, Wolf Team 2018. That's Rachel Lee. Of course, chess playing Wolf. That is Danny Machuca. I always get them confused. Always get them confused. Very confusing stuff. We have 2 wolves on the St. Louis Chess Club team. It's the best way to find out what your rank is. You have to play chess, and then you just get a rating. That's all you have to do. Just gotta play some chess. Oh my goodness, Savannah with the $2, doubling the donation. What is it with all the wolves? I don't know. Wolves just seem to be popular chess names. I think Danny has another account that's like a dragon or something. He's just very into these mythical beasts. Bishops are generally better, in my opinion, depending on the position, of course. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Looks like we are underway officially. Keeping an eye on Jeffery Xiong's game here. Looks like we have a Caro. Ooh, and Jeffrey's playing the fantasy variation. Really interesting stuff here. Unfortunate, Araja. Sorry to hear that. Sorry to hear that. Sorry to hear it. Okay, F3. On the board. And Real Boy is stunned. He is stunned by the fantasy variation from Jeffery Xiong. Doesn't know what to do. E6. Okay, this is not my favorite line by Black against the fantasy variation. Why are you playing the Caro-Kann? if you're just going to do this. I don't understand. Spending that $1,200 the right way, of course. B6 now. Okay, A3 is simple enough. We'll take back with the knight, I assume, on C3. Just supporting the center here. B6 from black is hinting that black wants to trade off these light squared bishops in this manner. And I suppose this makes some sense. I suppose this makes a little bit of sense here. White now is probably going to look to, I believe, take on A6, and then just develop this bishop out to a square like E3, or a square like F4. And with one extra bishop, life should actually be pretty good. Learn how to crush the carrow. Well, this one doesn't count because black played a bad line. Black played a bad line. Black doesn't have to play such a bad line. So I think white's position is just a little bit better. White has this nice dark squared bishop, and black has all these nice dark squared weaknesses, and black has no dark squared bishop to compensate for them. So just a comfortable edge for Jeffery. In the meantime, though, black is going to be looking to force white to play a move like E5. E5 really isn't a move that white is interested in playing here because it stunts this bishop. It makes this bishop look a lot less impressive. So knight F6 pressures E4, trying to tempt white into playing E5. Of course, Jeffery declines. Now, expect white to queenside castle, bring more rooks to the center of the board, or even potentially go for some kingside pawn pushes. If Jeffery says F3, then F3 it is. In the meantime, due to this maneuver with bishop A6 and knight takes A6, it's true that black got rid of white's great light squared bishop, but now this knight is a little bit misplaced, so I expect to see this knight actually come back to B8 and into D7 or C6 at a later date. Because this knight on A6 just does nothing. So, as I said, black castles kingside, and now expect to see white go for some pushes over here. Likely going to be combined with a queenside castles at some point. Simply F takes E4, I would assume. I don't see why not. But Jeffery taking a moment, taking a quick little pause. And now C5 from black was the point of his play, I suppose, with this knight on A6. Interesting that Jeffery just allows takes on D4. So he goes in for a better endgame now, where he's going to have more control of this D file, and this bishop is in fact going to be a really relevant piece here that black has to worry about. I kind of like this for Jeffery. These strong grandmasters seem to really play these endgames well. I don't know what it is about them. Quick look on Doris's game. Why don't we check it out? Why don't we see how Doris is doing with the black pieces? Looks like she is doing absolutely fine. It was one of those Queen's Indian type of positions where black has achieved both D5 and C5. And once you get these two moves in, it's sometimes slightly awkward to organize the pieces, but if you manage to get organized, then black should have no issues here. Knight C6 aims to capture this in some moment. Expect to see the rooks come to the center, and black to keep everything under control. We might end up in what's called the hanging pawn structure, where white has these two pawns connected on the fourth rank, and they do a great job of limiting the black pieces. They can also become a bit weak if they're not careful. Okay, back to the action here. Queen D4, and real boy is not moving. Just can't move. Can't do it. Doesn't know what to do. It's definitely a difficult position for black. I think, though, you do more or less have to trade off these pieces here. Because if you don't, you're just going to end up getting a little bit crushed. And getting crushed by Jeffery Xiong is never a fun time. Like, what do you do with this queen if you don't trade? So yeah, we do see the trade, and then black was thinking about his next move with H5. H5 looking to lock this pawn on a dark square, lock this pawn as a backward pawn behind the H4 pawn, and get into some comfortable endgame. Now, though, white's advantage really comes from this d-file pressure, so rook hd1 does get played. Moves like bishop g5 could also be coming on the board, just to kick this knight out and allow the white rooks into this 7th rank. Perhaps even e5. Yeah, so e5 is Jeffery's choice taking more space and similarly kicking this knight away. Okay, now knight b5 looks to create some pressure here, some pressure on the a pawn, and especially some pressure with knight d6. Okay, rook d7 is coming now, and I'm starting to think black might be in some pretty serious danger. Some pretty serious danger. This knight on a6 just leaves a very, very bad impression. Very bad impression. Okay, f6 was played. f6 seems to make a threat to the e5 pawn. If you take this, then e5 might give you some trouble. There's f7 check, king takes f7, rook d7, and then bishop g5 to follow. Looks complicated. Looks like some complicated stuff there. Simply rook e1 by Jeffery. I like the simple chess moves in this kind of time control here, where you don't have a ton of time. Now rook e7 might be allowing this move, e takes f6, followed by bishop d6, when this pawn's going to be a little bit awkward. I guess rook e8 would be played there without too much controversy. How to improve with Jeffery? How to improve? He does take. Okay, black recaptures with the pawn, of course, leaving this strong knight on g4. Now bishop d6, the rook jumps back to e8 as expected. And rook a4. I did not see the sideways move, rook a4. Now this should just win a clean pawn. And with the clean pawn, I think Jeffery will win a clean game. Once you go down the pawn in this endgame, your pieces were already worse, and if you go down material as well, things just really start falling apart. Knight c7 now. Okay, alright, that's game. Jeffery wins. Good talk, everybody. Back to Dorsa. How's Dorsa doing? How is Dorsa doing? Okay, she started pushing an a-pawn. This isn't really an idea I'm super familiar with. She did this in a previous game as well, where she just suddenly puts this pawn up to a4. It's kind of interesting, though. I guess she's going after this pawn here on a2. Moves like knight b4 are probably on her mind. I guess queen b1 is going to be the response, protecting this a2 pawn. And from there, it'll be a little bit interesting to see what happens. Once again, c takes d4 is kind of just waiting to be played, but black doesn't really have to play this move until white is threatening the move d5. If white can ever get d5 in comfortably, then black's going to be in a lot of trouble. So you have to keep an eye on d5, but if d5 isn't coming, then you don't really have to rush with c takes d4. Things are fine. So knight b4, queen b1 does come on the board here. And now what? Okay, it looks like Jeffery has started the second game after winning the round 1. That brings our total score to 2. Jeffery, one of the first games to finish, actually. So let's see what Jeffery can do with the black pieces. Looks like it was a French defense. That followed this line that I have no idea. I don't know anything about this line. But it looks like things have simplified a little bit. So with things being a bit more simple, perhaps I can determine the truth of the position. Also, taking a look around, we have already won one game on the bottom board as well. So we won on the top board, one on the bottom board. Great stuff. Jenna Song winning that game. So here, what's going on? Black has more center pawns. You love to see more center pawns for Jeffery Xiong. The unfortunate part of it is white has a little bit of pressure on this king side. So white's going to look to generate some quick play on the king side, try to get at the black king, and black is going to look to get this light squared bishop into the game, finish development, and have this nice comfortable extra center pawn. In the meantime, we won one more game somewhere. I'm trying to take a look around, see where that was. It's tough with 25 games to keep track of all this. But yeah, our total score is up to 3. It looks like Vinny won his first game. Great job to Vinny on one of those middle boards. So white castles. The move knight takes e4 is pretty natural now, following it up with the other knight coming to f6. From there, the move bishop d7 can be played, along with bishop up to c6. And things are looking pretty nice. Actually, though, I'm not so sure. Maybe the move b6 is more called for here. because if you do go in for this line I just mentioned, this bishop will drop back to d3, bishop d7, you're allowing white this e5 square, and I really don't want to allow this square to go to my opponent. So the move b6 is my new candidate move, just bringing this bishop out to b7 in the most uncompromising way possible. So b6 does get played. Playing like Jeffery Xiong. I love it. I love it. It's always a confidence boost when you suggest a move and then the 2700 player plays it. You know, it's kind of nerve-wracking to commentate these games because you feel just so inadequate compared to these players. But yeah, b6 seems good. Black is kind of delaying castling. If this bishop ever comes out to b5, this is probably what Jeffery is waiting for before committing this king to the king's side. Just white wasting some time over here, trying to make use of the king on e8 before he steps out of the way. So I expect white to develop this bishop now, perhaps to the g5 square, trying to create some threats, and then we'll see what Jeffery has in mind. I think just bishop b7 is going to be his game plan after this move. The problem is, then you do start to run into some difficulties with knight takes e4. So the Grandmaster goes for knight g5 instead, knight e to g5, putting some pressure on f7, putting some pressure on e6, putting some pressure on h7 as well. So this is the type of position where Jeffery Xiong is going to calculate at the speed of light and determine if there are any problems with these sacrifices, and then make a decision based on what he calculates there. So let's try and calculate like Jeffery Xiong. Bishop b7 is the natural move. h6 is also a pretty natural move, but with h6 you're always giving your opponent a little bit of a hook on h6, something white can latch onto to sacrifice at a later date. So let's stick with bishop b7. Bishop b7, let's say knight takes e6, pawn takes e6, queen takes e6. There's a nice bishop d5 move, really holding everything together. So I think that is just going to be fine for black. So I don't see any problems. I would have played bishop b7 there. In this case, though, Jeffery does go for kingside castles. And now, undoubtedly, white is looking to checkmate this king. I don't see how, though. I don't see how it happens. One move that white could maybe consider is a weird-looking move like g3. The idea being you just want to shake loose this nice queen on c7 with a move like bishop f4, but I don't very much like that move, to be honest with you. Probably rook e1 is the most natural, just piling up on e6, preparing a knight takes e6 threat. If knight takes e6 immediately, is this going to be a problem? Is this going to be a problem? I guess this is the problem move to consider. So rook e1 instead, just kind of preparing it. Now I would expect the move knight c5. Yeah, knight c5 defends this so many times that you never have to worry about it. And Jeffery's looking to take off white's powerful attacking bishop here. If this bishop dies, then black should not really have any problems in this position at all. Instructive stuff from Jeffery. In the meantime, the score is now a whopping 8-1. We are crushing this tournament, or this match so far. Note the score to beat so far is 29 from the Charlotte Chess Center, not the Charlotte Chess Center. So yeah, knight c5 comes on the board. Knight e5 now. This is allowed by this knight vacating d7. So what's the idea? Well, we can take off this bishop. I expect queen takes would be played, piling up on this square. f7 is coming under a little bit of fire, so definitely a lot of threats to still look out for here. So let's calculate. Knight takes d3, queen takes d3. I was going to play the move h6 afterwards. So he plays h6 first, daring white once again to go in for some sacrifices. We'll see. We'll see how brave white is feeling. We'll see how brave white is feeling. While he thinks about that, I will check on Dorsa's game. Looks like she is still on game 1 here, and things have gone her way seemingly. She's up a pawn for the moment. White has some active rooks and is trying to regain this pawn with some threats. But yeah, Dorsa up a pawn, looking good so far. Okay, bishop d4. I think worst case here, Dorsa has to give up her extra pawn, and will be easily drawing the game though. King e6 is really a nice move, ejecting that rook from its active position. So how do you hold everything together here if your name is Dorsa Derek Shani? Apparently rook c7 is how you hold everything together. I like it. I like it. We can check Julian's game too. Okay, I'm interested though. I'm interested in this. Checking back on Jeffrey, it looks like white was not feeling brave enough, and after h6 simply came back. Then we did see this trade on d3, and now bishop b7. So the fireworks have kind of passed here. White is still going to go for some kind of attack over here, but Jeffrey has more or less solved all of his opening problems here. So I really like Jeffrey's chances. Now checking in on Julian, Julian has the white pieces here, and it looks like he's up a pawn and has a pretty dominating position. Moves like knight f6 check are already being considered, I'm sure. Moves like rook h6 are probably being considered. Rook h6 actually looks quite fun, but unfortunately I think bishop f5 would be good enough there. Rook b8 is his choice. That's an interesting one. That is an interesting one. The idea is if you take on b8, queen takes b8, and then this is actually a pin on this bishop. If this bishop moves, you see knight f6 check, and rook takes d8. So rook b8 creating some very concrete threats against black's position here. So we do see the capture, but now none of the black pieces can really move, and this is more or less the crux of the problem here. So king h8 steps out of these checks. Okay, so black might be holding on for a little bit, just for a little bit. Now what do we do with the white pieces here? Well, I think there's a lot of options. You can go for some types of endgames, just up this extra pawn. You can play moves like rook d3 to kind of solidify. I guess that runs into bishop f5. So queen e5 is a nice centralizing move, stopping bishop f5. And now we'll see knight e3, and we'll approach a slightly more calm endgame position, rather than a position where white is just trying to checkmate. With the extra pawn, this should be very comfortable for white, and more or less, I think, should be winning. I said all that, and now is Julian blundering a pawn? No, queen e3 defends everything. Okay. Defends everything. Alright, king b2. Seems fine. Seems fine. Alright, I will trust Julian to try and convert this game here. Checking in on Nick Rosenthal. It looks like, unfortunately, he lost his first match, so we won't look at that one. Let's check in on Rachel Lee. Rachel Lee, of course, the terrifying player who I believe is 10 years old now and is better at chess than me. He's better at chess than a lot of people, and is going to be better at chess than a lot more people as time goes by. She gets better every month that goes by. Okay, it looks like she's up 2 clean pawns and should be able to convert this position against, some 2300. It's no problem. Of course, in our first match against San Francisco, she won 2-0 against an international master, so I'm sure this 2300 is nothing but cannon fodder for Rachel Lee. Rook d6 threatens checkmate, bishop f7 is forced. And now maybe just a move like rook d7 with this coming through. King f2 instead hits this rook. The rook moves. Everything checks out so far. And now rook d4 to prevent king f4. I don't know if I love Rachel's technique on this one. I really like this idea of just going rook to d7 and forcing this bishop away, then coming in with a check here. But okay, rook d4 defends this pawn from behind, and now she is activating the bishop instead. Okay, rook h3, expect king g2. For rook h4, just king g3, and everything stays defended. Now, I expect to see a move like rook f4, and this pawn is going to start pushing up the board. Or simply bishop back to f3. Rachel, taking her time. I trust that she will convert this endgame, though. Back to the main show. Jeffery Xiong here seems to have gotten the queens off the board, and now the move f4 is on the board for white. I really don't like the inclusion of this move. It was probably played when queens were still on the board. Don't fact check me on that one, but with the queens off the board, this is just a horribly weakening move. The best case scenario is someday you get to play f5 and trade it off for this e6 pawn, but you've already weakened so much around your king. f4 just really hurts to see. I also want to mention that we are absolutely destroying the Marshall Chess Club. It is 18-3 now. 18-3. That's a ridiculous score. That is actually obscene how many points we're scoring. Cupcake gets it done. The Ben Simon wins his game. PR Chess 2016, whoever you are, won his game. Galaxy VSG. Jacob Sanders wins his game. Aaron Lynn wins his game. No Shortcut wins this game. Nick Risco wins. Vinny wins. Hockey, whoever that is, wins. That's Michael Pugachev. Michael Pugachev wins. Chess Fans wins. Important Pan doesn't win, but that doesn't matter. Luke Yee wins, and we actually already have a 2-0. Unforced Errors won both of his or her games. Arjun, 1-0. Chess Playing Wolf, Danny Machuca, 1-0. Eric is one of our losses. Wolf Team, 2018. Rachel Lee actually drew. Rachel Lee drew that game. Oh no, Rachel should have won that. It was tough though. It was tough. So it's now 20.5 to 4.5. We won almost every game in the first round, with I think four exceptions, which is crazy. So we are already on pace to destroy the match score that Charlotte had against the Marshall Chess Club, and we're definitely going to be looking to win it all here. Scoring so much early on is really, really key here, because once again, the final standings are determined by your game scores, not whether or not you win the match, but how many points you score within each match. Okay, Jeffrey now is attempting to win the game. He went for an interesting move, g5, latching on to that f4 pawn, and now with this trade, fg, hg, his e-pawn is actually just entirely passed. So now expect to see Jeffrey play moves like king g6, and expect him to go for f5 and f4, really breaking through with connected passed pawns. I think this is more or less a great winning plan. Rook d1 now is offering a trade of the rooks. Honestly, I think Jeffrey can just go for this rook trade. With the rooks off the board, the bishops are going to be even more powerful, and f5 and f4 seems incredibly difficult to stop. The bishops are going to rake across the board, and this game is going to be just dead lost. So I expect rook takes d1 to happen twice, and then king g6, and then f5, and then f4, and then this game is really just going to be over. I truly believe that. What can white do in the meantime? Well, we see the double rook trade. Okay, bishop e4 instead of king g6, and Jeffrey, instead of pushing these pawns, is simply winning more pawns on the queen's side. Okay, knight b2, bishop c2 hits this pawn, b4 is the plan, and then maybe bishop e5, but bishop d4. I think it's time to fall back to plan A here and just start pushing this guy. This is the thing to do. Definitely the thing to do here. Okay, bishop e5 though, bishop d2, and now bishop b3. So Jeffrey just harasses these pawns even further. But yeah, I think king g6, f5, and f4 is on the cards. On the cards. Everything else is kind of just marking time until we get to this big plan. G4 instead. I did not expect g4. I expected king g6 to support g5, and then f5, and then f4. I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure about this one. I mean, obviously Jeffrey knows what he's doing, but this is not the plan that would have seemed most natural to me. So white now is making some threats on the queen's side. Making some threats. If you play the move b5, this knight's likely going to come back to e3. Knight a3 looks like a fork at first, but bishop d3 is kind of dominating that piece. Really though, maybe just taking on a5 makes sense, but then knight takes. It's not so easy. Bishop d3 threatens the knight, a takes b on the board, and now knight e3 must be the move. Gotta be knight e3 here. Or maybe not, but it's gotta be. So knight b2 hits the bishop. I don't like this knight as much on the b2 square though. It just looks so awkward, right? Looks so awkward. Okay, so bishop d5, and I think it's time to fall back, Jeffrey. You got to start pushing either this pawn or this pawn up the board. I think he might just go for a direct e-pawn push. White is doing some nonsense on the queen side, and Jeffrey is trying to limit counterplay wherever possible. But now, the time is right. It's time for a move like e5, and it's time to get this king in the game. It's time to go. Time to go. No more patience. In the meantime, we've bumped up our score to 24.5 to 5.5. Checking back in on Doris's game. She won that first game. I repeat, she won her first game. Incredible stuff. Winning in round 1. And now she's trying to set up some smothered mate cheapos, but knight a5 is likely ruining those dreams. by taking off the light squared bishop. Queen h4 now means there's a lot of pressure on h7. Black is going to have to be very careful about ever moving this knight. We see takes and takes. And now moves like bishop d4 are starting to come to mind for Dorsa. If you take on d4, well, she's going to take on h6. And it's looking like checkmate. In fact, bishop d4 immediately might just be crushing. I guess e5 is playable, but then bishop c5, and this pawn falls. Gotta be bishop d4 here. Will Dorsa play it? Will she find it? Bishop d4, absolutely crushing this game. Rook d5 instead. I really think bishop d4 just won. Okay, e6 hits this rook. The rook will retreat, I assume. Maybe she's gonna get creative here. Rook takes. Okay, now she plays bishop d4. Now she plays it. Nice. Bishop d4 by Dorsa. I don't know why it was necessary to hang this rook first, but she felt that was the case. So e5, now bishop c5, and this pawn just gets destroyed. This pawn gets destroyed. Rook f6, even knight b5 hits this pawn again. d6 gets destroyed. Nice find by Dorsa. Rook f6, there's a fork there. Yeah, there's some sacrifices with like queen takes h6, but even knight b5 is fine. Okay, now rook takes d6 is pinning this bishop. Likely bishop f6 is what black is planning on banking on here. Okay, rook f4 now. Interesting. Okay, just queen back to g3. It's tempting to look for like crazy tactics here for white. This is not playable due to the fork. Fork, counter fork. Jeffrey just lost a pawn. Okay, we'll jump back to Jeffrey here as he's in some time trouble. Okay, he did in fact lose a pawn, but this is you know, big draw, as they say. Big draw here. Okay. Interesting. I don't think Jeffrey played this endgame very well. And I understand that sounds a bit silly coming from me, but I really just don't think he played this endgame well. Here's how I thought this endgame was going to go. I thought king g6 was going to be played. White was going to play some move. Now this... Okay, I'll play better for white. White is going to try and expand on this queen side. We're going to play f5. White's going to try and expand on the queen side. We're going to play f4. Takes, bishop f2, and this is crushing. This is what I thought was going to happen in this game. And unless I'm missing some big resource for white, I think this is how the game should have gone. And I think Jeffrey would have just killed him here. But I might be wrong on this one. I've been wrong before. In other news, Nick Rosenthal battles back and wins his second game in his match. Let's check in on Julian Perleko, who did manage to convert in game 1 and is looking for more in game 2. Note, we already have 29 points, surpassing the Charlotte Chess Center's score against the Marshall Chess Club if we score any more points. A4 is hanging. Yeah, I might have like blundered something in that line that I just showed. Unless you're talking about a different position. Okay, sorry, I was catching up on the chat there. What's going on in Julian's game? Looks like some Benoni type of stuff. White does seem to have a pretty good grip on things for now. It's the weird type of Benoni where white actually got to recapture it with the e-pawn instead of the c-pawn. So things are going to be slightly different. Of course, that means there's no e4, e5 breaks for white, but that also means there's no pressure on the e-file for black. So now, black's probably looking to make use of this e5 square at some moment, and probably continue with things like f4, if it's ever allowed. So knight e5 immediately would actually make a threat of capturing and playing f4, but I think white is looking to trade off this dark squared bishop, if I'm 100% honest with you. I don't think that's a happy piece over there. I mean, bishop h6 there, bishop f4, g5. Yeah, bishop h6 actually looked like a quite good move to me. I think you're correct on that one, Talia. I think you're correct. I'm not sure what white would be doing. Probably losing? Maybe just losing. Was bishop h6 winning? Might have been. Might have been a win with bishop h6. Okay, though, Julian's position actually looks quite nice. I will give him that. Bishop h6 is once again going to be a threat in this position as well. Okay, let's check back in. Who do you guys want to check back in on? Dorsa? Let's see what's going on with Dorsa. Okay, things have progressed strangely. Where did all the pieces go? All the pieces died and Dorsa's getting a queen trapped, but she's up a queen. Okay. She's up a queen here, so that's good. Queen being trapped, less good. Knight e4 though, and while the queen doesn't really have any moves here, it doesn't really need any moves. Once the black pieces move, the queen will have some squares. So knight f5 allows queen h4 now, and the white queen is escaping. Okay, takes, now takes, and queen d8 check is going to be a fork if you take on e4. This, now f4 is hanging. Just take free stuff. Take free stuff. Take free stuff on f4. Okay, bishop e5. Now what? Now what? Okay, this game is a bit silly to analyze. Dorsa's up a queen. Dorsa's gonna win. We're up to 32 points against the Marshall Chess Club. I believe there are only 24 players in this match as well, leaving us with a total of 48 points possible, and we already have 33 of them. Why don't we check in on a slightly lower rated game, just for fun? Let's see how Danny Machuca is doing. Danny Machuca, the chess-playing wolf with the white pieces here. Holding on. Does he know his Philidor position? Does he know it? Okay, he's preventing the pawn from pushing. Wait a second. What's going on here? Okay, this should be okay. No, things have gone wrong. Things have gone wrong. But it's a draw. Okay, this I think b6 is a win here. I think b6 and white's been embarrassed. But it seems to have been missed. So Danny Machuca getting a draw. Okay, jumping down to Chess Fans 2019. I have no idea who this is, but they're on our team, so we'll follow their game. It looks like their game actually has the furthest to go before it ends of most of the games I've seen so far. So let me pull up the standings again. Queen f3, and black is kind of going all out here. All out for checkmate. White is making a queen rather quickly, rather too quickly for my taste, but black looking to kill him. Looking to kill the guy with some accurate play here. Okay. Now knight c3 comes on the board, but you know, queens are good. You can't queen yet with whites. I guess you have to take this knights. Wait a second. Black's also down in exchange. Okay. Black is not doing well this game. Are there any other games left we can look at? Julian's still playing, and Dorsa's still playing. Why don't we stick with those games? Okay, Julian here does not seem to have won the dark square bishop, instead having it traded off for his knight on f7. Now f4 comes on the board. And what now? Bishop d4 check, I assume. Always check. It might be mate. Okay, now bishop d4 check does come on the board. Julian's probably considering taking this knight off on c3, but I really don't like it. Just leave this bishop on d4. No reason to open this b file for white here. Moves like queen d8 also start coming to mind, with the idea of just harassing this a pawn a little bit. Okay, Julian trades off all the rooks. All the rooks come off the board. And now we have arrived at the end game. Fun stuff. So now Julian is likely much more seriously considering taking on c3, following it up with queen d8. You have to defend this pawn somehow with white, so perhaps the move queen a2. Then you can consider moves like b6 and queen takes b6. And black's just going to have an extra passed pawn on the queen side here. Will it be enough to win? I'm not so sure. Okay, queen d8 comes on the board, you're going to respond to check with bishop f7 now, and this pawn is difficult to defend. Difficult to defend. Less space needs to keep the heavy pieces. I don't know. I think Julian's doing fine here. I think he's doing fine here. Okay, so bishop d7 makes sense to guard these squares. He plays bishop f7 instead. I think that's just a worse version, honestly. You still can't really allow queen e7. So with what Julian, I'm expecting him to do is play bishop f6, play queen takes a5, and just go up a pawn here. Should be good. In the meantime, Dorsa did win her game. Turns out having extra queens is pretty good, and ends up winning that game, bringing our score to 36 out of 48. That is a 3-1 advantage we have, even if we lose the rest of the remaining games. Okay, bishop a4 is played. Now, do we take? I think just bishop f6 here. Bishop f6 seems simple. You keep the queen out. Bishop e8, though, is the idea. Okay, I'm catching on here. I'm a little bit slow sometimes, guys. So king f8 stops bishop e8 and stops queen e7, and now queen a5 is on deck here. Queen a5 on deck to win this game. Rachel Lee says, go black. That's correct. We are rooting for Julian here. Rooting for Julian. And I think he's going to win this one. All right, what else is going on here? Who else is left still playing? Rachel Lee with 2 draws in her match against the strong 2300. Let's see. This Chess Fans game is still going on, and is that it? There should be one more game in progress somewhere that I'm not seeing. Yes, this one. So let's see what's going on here between a Murder Castle, I believe that's Forrest, and London Kid. Looks good for Forrest. He has an extra pawn. Is it enough to win the game? Maybe. Maybe it is. Maybe it is. White has a lot of space on this king side. Moves like f4, f5 might create some awkward weaknesses for black. It does leave awkward weaknesses behind for white, though, as well. So you got to be a little bit careful here. A little bit careful. Just got to be a little bit careful. Okay, rook b7, and now it's starting to look pretty silly. King g8 means a check, and then rook f8, and this is going to be dead. White picks up an extra pawn. It will win this game. Checking back in. Somehow, someway, Chess Fans has maneuvered into an exchange down endgame. He got rid of this a7 pawn somehow, which is a huge step forward, but this is not going to do it for him. So we'll leave that game alone. In the meantime, Julian, making some progress here, has picked off this a pawn in the meantime. Now, this move would be a mistake due to takes, giving a knight the d5 square. You could consider taking twice, though. If you take twice and then play king f6, then you could simply pick up this pawn for free, I think. Okay, he's going for b5 stuff now. Going for b5 stuff. Okay, now b3, it's getting a little bit weird. Just b5. Just b5 here. Should do the trick. Get active. Okay, bishop back to f7. I don't fully understand what Julian's going for here. Is he trying to just take this bishop and take this pawn? This is not the way. This is not the way I would have done it. I just liked playing b5, keeping it simple, just kind of expanding over here on the queen side and winning the game. This wins another pawn, though. This does win another pawn. There's this move in the end, I guess, but it doesn't really matter because the queenside pawns are too strong. And now queen e4, and this game is nearing its end here. Game is nearing its end. b5. Gotta play b5 at some point. Gotta play b5 at some point. I'd like it to be now. You can also play d5 here. d5 might be better. I don't understand king e7. I don't understand what Julian is doing. I don't understand a lot of things. This is one of them. Yes, good games to Dorsa. Good games. Okay, king h3. Stepping out of this pin. Bishop f6 guards against knight g5. Julian's just taking it a little bit too slow for my tastes. Come on, just play like b5 or something. I don't have this kind of patience in my life. b5. Let's go. Alright, h4 is also winning. I wasn't even looking at this side of the board. But taking this guy off makes sense. b5. What's the wait? What's the big wait for here? Like, what are these moves? What is queen e6? What's happening? Like, they're not bad moves, I just don't understand them. Okay, he was worried about losing this h-pawn, I suppose, so he brought the queen back to defend it. Can we play b5 now? Can we please just play b5? Okay, maybe d5 here. Can we just play d5? Okay. What is the queen doing on g6? I don't understand what's happening. Okay, now all of a sudden, white is quite active. This is going downhill. Okay, queen takes f4. Gives up the queenside pawns though. But now maybe white is getting a little bit checkmated, hopefully. Hopefully just a little bit checkmated. Okay, this king comes to g6. Some more checks, and hopefully the wrong player doesn't get checkmated here. Okay, bishop g7, no more checks. Safe. Bishop g7, safe. Now we see black starting the checking spree. Queen g4 picks up the knights, and that should be the match. Should be the match. You can take this knight, there's no perpetuals. The queen and the bishop can organize to stop the checks. He trades the queens off instead. Also totally winning. Okay, one passed pawn coming on the board for white here. Julian is inside the box and in time to stop it from queening. And the rest is history. Okay, one game left in the match. No, that is it. The match is officially over. We crush the Marshall Chess Club. Absolutely crush them. 38-10. If that's not the highest scoring match of this round robin, I will be very surprised. All right, let's check out how the Charlotte Chess Center did in their match. Let's see. In round 2, they looked to score 27.5 against the Mechanics Institute. That brings the total scores to, let's see, what's our total score? 38 plus 28. Okay, that is 58 plus 8 is 64 for the St. Louis Chess Club. 64. Charlotte Chess Center has 27.5 plus 29. That's 49 plus 7 is 56.5. Then the San Francisco Mechanics Institute. San Francisco seems to have, let's see, 20.5 plus 20 is 40.5. And then the Marshall has 10 plus 19 is 29. These are your scores so far in the final round. 66. 66. Did I count wrong? Did I count wrong? We have 66. Is this true? Is this true? Is this true? Do we have 66? Let me do some math. Let me do some math here. I already forgot our scores. 38 plus 28 is in fact, let's see, 58 plus 8 is 66. 66 for us. Use a calculator. It's too lazy. Alright, I'll just get it wrong. So 66 for us. I will amend. Yeah, I agree. So we have a whopping 9.5 point lead going into the final round. 9.5 point lead. So, with that in mind, what score do we need to ensure victory here? The most that anyone can score, I suppose, is 48 or 50. I think it's 48 now. This seems to be the running theme, only 48 total points. But I don't think that's going to happen. So let's say the most San Francisco could possibly score is like 30, maybe 35, maybe up to like 40, okay? Then we have a 9.5 point lead against the Charlotte Chess Center. So 9.5 means we can lose by 9 games. We can go -9 in this match and still win. So -9 is the goal here. Meaning, how many points are we looking for? Let's see, 24 minus 9. We need like 15 points, and I think we win, which is a little crazy. Maybe more than 15, but 15 points seems pretty good. Okay. We need more than 15 points. Let's just win this match, and then I won't have to try so hard with all this math. Okay, the last match should be just about ready to get underway, though. So let me load it up here. Okay, here we have this final match, starting in 3 minutes and 35 seconds. Starting in just a moment. Okay, and we have to score 19.5. That's my final answer. Forgot to multiply by 2. So every point that we lose is a point for them. So every point is kind of worth double. So we need to score at least 19.5 in this match in order to guarantee victory. So 19.5 is the magic number. Then I am going to shout and declare victory. Until then, we still have ourselves a match. So it looks like board 1 for the Charlotte Chess Center is Daniel Naroditsky. Board 2 seems to be an international master. I'm not sure actually who this is. Let's see if I can find out. Carlos Andres Perdomo. Carlos Andres Perdomo on board 2. Then board 3 seems to be Pete Giannatos. I believe he's one of the founders, if not the founder, of the Charlotte Chess Center, up against Julian Perleko. So yeah, why don't we get to 34 for the round 100? That would be awesome. But so far, things are looking quite good. Will there be a celebratory Skype group call? That's down to Mike Kummer. Mike Kummer, the manager for this team. Manager for most of our competitive chess teams here. So get in touch with him regarding the celebratory Skype call. Alright, minute 45 to go. Minute 45. Whew! Alright. It's been a marathon here so far. A marathon. Dorsa, in the meantime, up against Just Kid, who is a national master. Can't trust that username, though. Kids are too scary. So good luck to Dorsa, playing a child. Rachel Lee, also up against the national master. We'll see how she fares there. In the meantime, just looks like some pretty even matchups down the board. Pretty even stuff. We do have a bit of an advantage, I think, on these bottom boards. That's really where our team has been shining. We just clean up on these lower boards. After round 2 of 3, St. Louis, 68. Charlotte Chess Center, 59.5. San Francisco, 40.5. New York, 29. There were forfeitures. Oh, disaster. Okay. So we have the totally accurate scoreboard there. Still 60. No, that's 2 forfeit wins for us. Excellent. Excellent stuff. Okay. 10. So, Aradya, you didn't get to play last round, but you still scored 2 points for us on forfeit. Well done. And we are underway. Let's check in with our board 1 here, see how Jeffery Xiong fares against internet aficionado Daniel Naroditsky. Danya, of course, has been killing internet chess for some time now, breaking all sorts of rating records. So let's see how Jeffrey manages to handle this. Let's see how Jeffrey can handle this here. We have the old Roy Lopez. The old Roy Lopez. Castles takes on c6, takes on c6, and now d3. Okay, white defending the center. So this is, of course, the open style of the Roy Lopez, where white eventually captures on c6. So we'll see what Jeffrey can make of this position. Yes, the immortal Rebecca Harris with the black pieces here. One of Danya's many internet usernames. And yeah, Daniel's taking his time after d3. I'm not totally familiar with all the theory in these positions. I'm not an e4 player myself, and not really an e4. I don't really respond to e4 with the Roy too often, so I am in uncharted waters for me, although I'm sure many chess games have found themselves in this position before. Why don't we take a look around though? Sorry, I should have this view up for you guys. Check in on Doris's game. Everybody loves Doris. No. Let's check in on somebody new. Let's check in on my good friend Eric Kachenko. He is employed by this chess club as a chess associate. Let's see how he's doing here. Bishop e2 seems to be making some nasty threats to this queen on h5. Stuff like knight g5 was threatened with f3 and g4 to follow. So bishop g4 aims to prevent some of those threats from appearing. And now what is Eric going to do? It's tough to make concrete threats here. It's tough to decide what white wants to do with this king, actually. He might go for some trades with something weird like knight g1 and recapturing. He might also play a move like d3. I don't really like the move d4. Queen c2 also comes to mind, with the idea of queenside castling, but it looks a little bit awkward here for Eric, if I'm 100% honest. Yeah, time to go for some trades, I think. Knight g5, going for some trades. Going for some trades with knight g5. Okay, not going for all the trades though. Knight e2. I think Eric is committing to trying to trap this queen. f3 now, I would not be surprised to see him play. With the full commit to the queen trap. I don't think f3 is a good move though, because the queen does have the h6 square, and it's a little bit difficult to get at that queen with that type of shelter. I also am not a huge fan of Eric's position here. It might be time to just play a move like knight f4, and honestly get these queens off the board. Get these queens off the board. You do have to look out for some tactics, like knight e4 coming up in later positions with the discovered attack on the bishop, but I think if Eric can get these queens off, things are going to be a little bit more comfortable. Rook c1 might be coming as well, with some pressure here. I don't think things are terrible for Eric, but just a little bit wonky. Just a little bit wonky. Yeah, knight b4 could be a threat. That's kind of why I like this knight f4 move. You're keeping an eye on d3, and you're offering up this queen trade. Okay, we'll leave Eric to it. Danya has made quite a bit of progress in his game. So as Talia correctly said, the ideas are knight d7, f6, and bringing this knight to e6. It went pretty much exactly as she said it would. Knight f5, and we do see this light squared bishop come off the board to take off the powerful knight on f5. Now, the e6 square is a little bit defended, so knight e6 probably not going to come on the board. Now expect Jeffrey to play moves like f4, I think. f4 in the future is how white is going to look to break down black's center. And even though I just said that, I do like not playing f4 for a long time. This pawn is almost really in black's way, cutting off these rooks from getting in the game, cutting off this bishop from any open diagonals, and I think Jeffrey has a pretty nice hold on this position right now. Queen f7 is defending a little bit on the king's side. a4, Jeffrey just takes some space. Takes some space. Okay. I am looking for stupid tactics like this. Jeffery Xiong is probably thinking more about the strategical features of the position and not cheap 4-move long tricks that don't even work. Okay, now I'm really thinking about my cheap 4-move trick, In the meantime, though, Danya's probably trying to break out with moves like g6. So queen h3, and I want to, this is what I want. That's what I want out of life. That's all I want out of life. Knight f3, knight h4, knight g6. Of course, there are practical problems with it. The h5 pawn hangs after you play knight g4. And Jeffery is, of course, just playing very professional chess, doubling on the e-file, preparing to make some threats. Okay, now h6 is trying to slow down the white player's attack here. Knight f3 does come on the board, and I'm still looking for stuff like this. Jeffery might be looking at this move g5. g5 does start to look pretty attractive here. The idea being, if you take with the h-pawn, h6 is going to come with pretty strong force, and if you take with the f-pawn, well, you're leaving behind this pawn on e5. I don't think tactically it's going to work out immediately, but definitely this is something on Jeffery's mind. So moves like knight h4 and knight g6 can also come on the board. The black king is going to hide on h7. And it's just a matter of finding a way to break through with white here. Don't forget, though, moves like f4 are going to be on the cards for Jeffery. And he really, I keep saying the word cards, he holds all the cards here as well. It's really Jeffery who can decide when he wants to open up the position. E4 is really the only way for black to take an active approach to the position, trying to break things open with a move like e4. But if you give Jeffery some time, I think knight h4 is going to be played, and a move like f3 would actually just stunt this e4 idea. I did just say that moves like f3 would stunt the e4 idea, but I'm not convinced I like the move f3, so let's not play it. That in mind, this is the only break that white really has to worry about. So king h7, preemptively stepping out of any knight g6 checks. Not a bad idea. Knight h4 anyways. And like I said, e4 is the only way for black to try and get active here. So Danya just taking a purely defensive approach with knight f7. If this knight lands on g5, it's going to get taken off the board. So I don't really expect it to make it that far. Knight g6 is playable. Perhaps Jeffery wants to leave the knight on h4, but no, yeah, knight g6. Now bishop d6 is keeping an eye on things. And this knight, like I said, just a purely defensive role, keeping an eye on these squares, making sure no funny business happens. And yeah, the eventual f4 is still going to be coming. It's just a question of, is it enough to play for an advantage here? And I'm not super certain. I expect now move queen e2, looking for some of these squares on the queen side, and yeah, it does get played. And it's really just down to what white can do here. Danya definitely not playing for a win here. The only way black ever wins these games is if white goes crazy and tries to overpress, which of course is something that's been known to happen in chess games before. But like I said, Jeffery holds all the cards here. He's going to be the one to decide when things open up. So yeah, bishop d2 is a prophylactic move, guarding this e4 square. And how to organize the white pieces to break through. That's going to be the game here. Black is, I think, in Zugzwang. I think these are the best squares for Danya's pieces. And now you have to move one of them. So queen c8, a slight deprovement of the black pieces, but nothing to really do here for black besides these awkward passing moves. Okay. I expect now a move like bishop c3 to come on the board. The idea being you just want to set up this f4 threat and be able to actually win a pawn on e5. And how do you stop e takes f4? Well, hopefully you get enough pressure on this e file so that e takes f4 is never an option due to some hanging pieces on e8. So I want to move like bishop c3, then let's say black passes, then I want to move like f4. Sorry, not like f4. Then I want to move like bringing this queen in, and then maybe after a queen trade, the move f4 and going for the win. So queen c4 now. Queen c4. Jeffery just placing his pieces on active squares. And now Danya is finally attempting something. He's playing c6. I don't know if he's actually going to play the move b5 or not. I suspect he isn't. I think c6 is just to guard these light squares a little bit more thoroughly. And now f4 has been played. This is the break. f4, now bishop c3 to follow, and that's a lot of pressure on e5. That is a lot of pressure. I am not convinced that black is going to be able to hold here. So b5 was prepared with queen b7. Now, the a pawn is in fact hanging, so black has to do something on this queen side. either takes, which looks horrible, or b4, which looks horrible, or c4, which looks horrible. That's a free pawn. That's a free pawn. That's a free pawn. I'm taking it. This is Daniel's idea, I think. Okay, so he takes b5 instead. This also makes a ton of sense. Totally fracturing the black pawns here. I think Jeffrey's winning. I think Jeffrey's winning. Yeah, I'm not sure knight g5 is too big of a threat, though, Talia. It does look like, though, he did play f4 pretty quickly after removing this bishop from d2. Or, no, he only played bishop c3 after f4, so he did always keep an eye on this g5 square. Now, queen c4 is offering a queen trade and just going in for some endgame where he's looking to take on e5 and just win. I think take c5 is called for now. Oh yeah, this pawn is hanging. I forgot. So Jeffrey's just winning all the pawns, and he's going to win this game. These two pawns are horrible. White has the most beautiful endgame I've ever seen, and he's winning a pawn on e5 as well. This was a real crush from Jeffrey. A real crush from Jeffrey here. I mean, he doesn't have to take on okay, he does take on e5. I thought it was about time. I thought it was about time. Now, how many pieces does he trade here? 0, 1, 2, or like a billion? Tough to tell. Looks like the knights come off, and the bishops come off, and the rooks come off, and the extra pawn is in Jeffrey's hand. After takes, or maybe he won't take. Maybe moves like queen e4 are crossing his mind. Moves like queen e6 as well. Just to, well, queen e6 means queen d4, so not that one, but I expect rook e5 here. Just take stuff. Take free stuff. The problem is going to be the king's safety here. That's going to be Danya's saving grace if he can find one. Note, we are actually tied 4-4 so far. Julian Proleko, quick draws in both of his games. Agreed to a draw with white here, and then, let's see, with black, looks like he agreed to a draw here. So that is just good match strategy from Julian. We have the lead going into this match, so every draw just brings us closer to securing that title. So 2 draws from him, not upset about at all. Danny Machuca has actually already won his game. Dominique Colombo, I don't know who that is. The real MC has won his game. Lukey has, Dominic is playing for the Charlotte Chess Center. That's why I don't know who it is. Lukey, unfortunately, lost in round 1. Michael Pugachev lost in round 1, unfortunately. PR Chess lost in round 1. Nick Risco winning in round 1, as well as Cupcake. Cupcake winning in round 1 as well. Jenna goes down, and the Charlotte Chess Center has taken the lead now, 5-4. 5-4. Sorry, let's go back to a real game. Still in progress. Jeffrey does just take on the e5 square. Okay. And things went wrong for Eric in that game that we were looking at as well. Eric did end up losing that position. And dang, the Charlotte Chess Center in the lead by 2 points. Now, of course, we win the entire tournament if we get anything better than a 9-point deficit in this match against Charlotte. But of course, we're the St. Louis Chess Club. You know, we're looking to win every match. So gonna be kind of a bittersweet victory if we don't manage to beat Charlotte here. Gonna be a bittersweet victory. Okay, rook c1. Danya just trying to string together some threats now, but it's really not gonna happen. It's really not gonna happen against Jeffery Xiong. Even the move rook e2 could be played here. My idea is I simply want to play queen e6. Queen e6 threatens checkmate with queen g6 and rook e8. And if you trade the queens, well, it's a rook endgame, down 2, and really essentially 3 pawns. And so that is going to be a dead victory. So I like the move rook e2 here for Jeffrey. Just simplifying things, getting into a totally... What is this? Why would you give this pawn? Okay, Jeffrey goes for checkmate instead. He's a more ambitious chess player than me. So queen e4, king f3. And then f6 is going for some checkmates. That's not how, but this is how. Stuff like this and queen g6 is getting the job done. Looks like unstoppable mate, or at least, winning a queen. Same thing here. It's now 8-5. 8-5 in this match, if you're curious. Queen d4 might be trading the queens, though. So maybe this is how Danya doesn't lose immediately with queen d4. No, king g8 instead. So f6 would mean what? f6 would mean takes, but then check. I'm so confused. f6 looks crushing. f6 looks crushing. Jeffery Xiong agrees. Jeffery Xiong agrees. f6 looks crushing. And this gonna be the game. Why don't we check in on Dorsa, who won her first game? Nice. Dorsa winning her first game. Looks like... yeah, black just resigns here. This pawn is not going to be stopped. This bishop does an excellent job escorting this pawn all the way down the board, stopping this knight from coming d6, stopping this rook from guarding b8, and that is the match. Well done to Dorsa winning in game 1. Yeah, and now Danya has officially resigned, bringing the match score up to 8-6. It'll update momentarily, I'm sure. And we are in game 2 between Jeffery Xiong and Danya. And Charlotte has actually gone up to 10 points now. A 4-point deficit already. We gotta get there somehow. This is not going the way we wanted it to go. Oh my gosh, and Pidgeonatos beats Forest. Disaster on that board. Things are going wrong. These lower boards where we did so well, they're starting to swing the other way. Ben Simon, though, holding strong for the St. Louis Chess Club, wins his match against Jeff P22. Alright, Danya just going for a simple type of opening where you play knight c3 before moving this pawn. I don't like this style of opening play. This knight just feels out of place on c3. Some of the ideas involve having a quicker support of this move e4. Also, more ideas involving this move knight b5. This is the advantage to leaving this pawn back on c2. I just don't like it, though. Just in general, I'm not a huge fan. So take c5, now knight d7. Black doesn't really want to waste time with recapturing this pawn directly. Moves like queen a5 also come to mind for black, just piling up on this knight. So now knight takes c5, this bishop is hit, and Jeffery will be taking off the light squared bishop here for white. This light squared bishop is always a powerful piece in these d4 openings, and so getting rid of it is a pretty nice achievement for Jeffery. In fact, he might now be fixing his worst minor piece by trading it for white's best minor piece. Always fun stuff. How we doing? Well, it was looking rough there for a second, but we're staging a comeback here. Up to 12-10. Up to 12-10. I was just talking about how, we need less than a 9.5 point deficit to win the entire tournament, but that doesn't mean we don't want to crush the Charlotte Chess Center as well in this match. So looking to win this match. Now it's 13-10 for Charlotte. Ugh. These lower boards are where they're killing us. We need to start winning games on these lower boards. Cupcake's my favorite player in the entire match. All she does is win. So Cupcake still holding strong for us. Michael Pugachev also battled back in his second game. He lost in round 1, but managed to win in round 2. Excellent. Arjun scoring a solid draw. That gets us closer to the threshold we need, which I believe is 19.5. If we get to 19.5, I think we win by force. Yeah, I appreciated the 2 professional draws from Julian, getting us closer to winning the entire tournament. Just taking the draws. Eric won a piece. Eric's up a piece in his game. We gotta check it out. Knight a5 hits the queen, hits the knight. This knight is falling off the board. Well done, Eric. So Eric battling back. This is what we need to do. These players who lost in round 1 can't give up just yet. Who is Cupcake? I knew who Cupcake was at some point in my life, but now she's just Cupcake to me. So that's all I know. Let's see. Cupcake is Isabel. Okay, well, king f8 is on the board. How did this happen? Did I miss something? Okay, knight d6 is a check. Okay, so this is how he won the piece. Okay, now rook c1. Eric up a piece, but with a weak king. So what does that mean for this game? It means Eric has to be careful. Knight c6 now looks very natural. You just block off this c file, support your center, threaten things like knight e5 and knight takes f3. It's time to start consolidating with the black pieces. You have this extra piece, so you just need to get safe and get pieces off the board and get closer to just a technically winning endgame. That's the way to go with black here. Queen comes back to b3, but this is kind of a silly piece at this point. Moves like knight e4 are potentially playable now, with this queen vacating the center. Knight d2 looks like a threat. Knight g5 is, of course, the main threat. So, looking really good for Eric in this game. Looking really good. Knight e4, you might run into some trouble with bishop f4, actually. Might have to be a little bit careful with that one. So if I'm Eric, I'm playing moves like h6, I think. Okay, there's just these problems with these center pawns. Might have to give some material back with black here. I wouldn't mind it at all. Moves like rook d8 also come to mind, just guarding the center. Okay, how is Jeffery doing in this game? Let's check back in. This is the main game we're following. So, I was saying he's getting rid of white's best minor piece, and he does just that. Okay? Now the bishop on b4 was hanging, so knight a6 defends. Also defends knight c7, also defends knight d6. And this is just going to be a really solid position for Jeffery here. Really no worries for Jeffery Xiong in this position. With the light squared bishops off the board, these positions become so much more pleasant for black than white. Because without this piece, white is missing so much pressure on all of these squares on both sides of the board. This is kind of like, I talk about this so often, I talk about it in my lectures all the time. This is a critical piece for white in any d4 structure. And without it on the board, it's going to be tough for white to prove anything. Going to be tough for white. Yeah, Danya now trying to come up with a move. Moves like bishop c5 are probably coming soon for Jeffery. Then he can just start to reorganize the pieces. Queen out to b6, rooks over to d8, and get this knight back in the game with something like knight b4. So Danya plays immediately with the move c4, making immediate threats in the center. Jeffery could capture this if he so desires, or come up with something else. Moves like bishop c5 still seem good. If queen c3, for example, rook c8, and you're not very happy taking this piece, taking this pawn rather, and getting this knight onto the d5 square, and that's what Jeffery goes for. So if queen c3, I would expect rook c8 now. Even knight e4 is playable if queen c3, so that's why queen d3 comes on the board. But now knight b4 hits this queen, and then knight c3 is coming, or knight e4 is coming in anyways. So queen b3, avoiding the c3 square, not allowing the knight to come with tempo. Makes a lot of sense. Queen b6 might potentially be playable here, keeping an eye on this knight here on b5. White's next move is likely a3. I'm just curious, what if the move a5 comes on the board for black here? If a3, a4. If queen c3, knight e4. Things are starting to look almost tactically winning for Jeffery Xiong, unless white kind of just bails out and takes on d5. Rook c8 instead, a good solid improving move by Jeffery. The score is 14-14 now. We have leveled the match. We have leveled the match. And here, who am I shouting out to thank for leveling this match? Important Pan goes 2-0 in his match. Important Pan. Important scores by an important Pan. Chess Playing Wolf. Danny Machuca 2-0s his opponent. 15-15 now. Oh boy, 15-15. So Danny Machuca coming in strong for the St. Louis Chess Club here with the 2-0. Rachel Lee, of course, crushed her opponent. No surprise there. All Rachel Lee does is win chess games. Okay, checking back in on Dorsa here. She, of course, won in round 1. Now we're looking at her round 2 position is queen d3 checkmate. Knight g4 is what? What is happening? What is happening? What is happening? What is happening? E3? Oh my gosh. E3. Oh my gosh. Dorsa going wild on the chessboard. This is crazy stuff. E3. Giving up this bishop on g7. This is brave stuff from Dorsa. This is brave. We have to see the conclusion of this game. This is too wild. This is too wild. E3, and it's a really strong fork, and it looks like checkmate. I hope it looks like checkmate. Gosh. So E3, E takes F2 is coming. Then a move like Bishop E2 is going to be a check. And a move like Queen D3 is going to be checkmate. E takes D2 is the exact same threat. This is the forced checkmate sequence that Dorsa saw. So how do you stop it with white is the question. And I'm not convinced that you do. The move Bishop E5 could be tried, but then simply takes and takes is also going to be killer. I think this is just dead. Knight E4 means E takes F2, and you can't recapture with the knight due to the pin, and your king can't move, so that's losing a queen. Okay, looks like a win for Dorsa. I'm calling it there. Back to Jeffrey's game. He's running a bit low on the clock. How did this pan out? So A6, knight C3, and then Jeffrey did capture on C4. Okay, now he just brings this knight into D5, and the black pieces seem to be pretty coordinated here. Simple moves like rook D8 can just be played now. Challenging this rook's claim to the D file. Jeffrey could also consider taking on C3 with the idea of bringing the second knight back into D5, but yeah, I like rook D8. I like rook D8. Oh, sorry, Julian mentions an important move that I did not mention. If f takes e, where's the mate? Well, rook takes e3, king d1, bishop here, king c2, queen d3 is checkmate. You could probably play queen d3 first as well, but you can do it with check, I believe. The score is now 17-16 in favor of the Charlotte Chess Center. This is close. Jenna battling back in her second game, winning on the lower board. What else? Ben Simon, like I said, won his first game. Let's see how Ben Simon's doing in the second game. Ben Simon, the Chess 960 aficionado, winning the first ever St. Louis Chess Club viewer tournament. In a tournament with over 120 players, Ben Simon getting first place, beating out the Jonathan Israel Dorsa Dereshani combo for first place. Incredible stuff. Ben, though, oh, no, Ben's killing it. I thought Ben had white for a second, but Ben has black. Ben is killing it. This pawn is more or less indefensible. White has to try crazy stuff like e4. You can take and then bishop c1, but this is just garbage. Then this rook can never move, and the game is going to be over. Now, knight takes b2 is just crushing. Knight takes b2, and black is winning this chess game. Go, Ben Simon. Go, Ben Simon. Okay, back to Jeffery Xiong. Back to Jeffery Xiong. I keep jumping around a lot. Okay, knight d6 is offering up two pieces for the rook here, with the idea being queen takes b7 is going to follow. Is that worth it? I remain unconvinced. If Jeffrey doesn't like it, then the move knight a5 could appear. The move knight a5 might be a good move anyways, but then queen a3, I suppose. Then things get a little bit weird with bishop b8 there. Things just get a little bit weird. A little bit weird. So rook takes d6, bishop takes d6, queen takes b7. And what's going on? The safest move feels like it's probably knight d to e7 in that position, when everything seems to be holding together. There's no back rank checkmate, and Jeffrey should be consolidating with the two pieces for the rook quote-unquote advantage. But then queen takes a6, and moves like queen d2, it just gets a little bit crazy. White gets both of these pawns, is the point. And the black queen might get active, though. So I'm not so sure. It's looking quite complex here. Jeffery Xiong taking his time. Down to 45 seconds, though. He's going to have to play a move. He's going to have to play a move. He takes. He goes for it. I love it. Okay, queen takes b7. He does go for knight e7. And then, like I said, queen takes a6. I think queen d2. I think queen d2 is Jeffrey's idea here. Hitting this pawn, hitting this knight, which is defended, touching this rook as well. Just touching all the white pieces. Touching all the white pieces. Dorsa 2-0 with the killer e3 tactic. We saw that one live on stream, Dorsa. We saw that one live on stream. Knight g4, e3. Crazy stuff. What a game. What a game. Okay, queen d2. I'm playing like Jeffery Xiong. How do I do it? I'm the best. Okay. So moves like rook takes c6 fail to checkmate. This pawn is currently hanging, so that's probably the threat that Danya is thinking about now. Could play like b3, I guess. It just doesn't feel good. Playing the move b3 doesn't feel good. I want moves that feel good. Maybe queen b7, but that hangs a knight, so can't do that. Still no back rank checkmate because we have this b8 square covered. It's starting to look a little bit tough for Danya. This is a pretty weird configuration of the black pieces, but it seems to hold everything together. These two knights defend each other and the bishop, and without many pieces left on the board for Danya, it's tough to make threats against this structure. So h3 allows queen takes b2, but then perhaps Danya's plan is rook takes c6, takes, and takes. You can't take the knight due to checkmate. So simply h6 in return from Jeffery Xiong. Makes a lot of sense. No back rank mates in this game. Eric is done. Did Eric win? Did Eric win? He did win up a piece. Eric, we saw you winning that piece tactically. Congratulations. The score is now 21-19. With just a half more point, we actually guarantee that we get first place in the entire tournament. But we want more, of course. We want to destroy the Charlotte Chess Center. So rook takes c6. Now I don't understand. This can be captured. But then queen takes. And this bishop is dying. This bishop is dying. Not ideal. There's queen e1. Jeffery Xiong is out of time. You gotta play a move, Jeff. Gotta play a move. Just call him Jeff like he's my bud. This move is check. Gotta play Jeffrey. He takes this move is still check. He just takes the knight. Okay, now queen a8, I expect. Takes the bishop. And Jeffrey takes on b2, takes on f2. This endgame doesn't look pleasant. This endgame doesn't look pleasant. This endgame is many things. Pleasant is not one of them. Maybe f6, e5, h5. This looks lost. This looks lost, unfortunately. 22.5 to 19.5 now. Oh, things are going wrong. Cupcake failed me. Cupcake was like my ace in the hole. Ben Simon winning both of his games. Good job to Ben. It's getting close here. I think there's only... I think 24.5 secures the victory for Charlotte. So they just need 2 more points here. If Danya wins this game, then they just need 1 more point. Okay, this threatens perpetual check. Good. Now Danya has to stop this. This move stops it, I suppose. But then f6. But then queen c7. But then king g6. And then e5. And then this move anyways. I don't know. I just don't know. Jeffrey making some problems for Danya here. Making some problems. Rachel Lee is still playing. Oh, well, if Rachel's playing, then that's a free point for us. So perfect. Let's check in on her. Okay, maybe not a free win for us. This is looking to be rather drawish. But, you know, I don't doubt that Rachel could pull off a W here. I don't doubt it. Back to Jeffrey's game, though. I'm invested. So h4 just comes on the board, so let me flip that. And, yeah, queen e5 seems like the best move. I don't know what else Danya could really play here, besides queen e5. Queen d1 stops perpetual, but then queen takes b2. You push this guy, I'll come here. So he gives this check instead. f5 now? Yeah, f5, and now queen f3. Okay, this was the point. Oh, and Danya. Danya seems to have found a line here. Okay, wait, what it was... Stop doing that. Okay, this move is check. White wins by resignation. Oh, this move's check, but then that move is check. Dang! Alright, Jeffery Xiong going down in the second match here. So that brings Charlotte to 23.5. They need 1 more point. They just need 1 more point to secure victory in this game. Let's check in on the next highest board. I believe this is Forrest up against Pete Giannatos. Forrest seems to be trying to checkmate black with the few remaining pieces on the board. Okay, you can take this pawn, or you can push. Maybe just push. Yeah, just push it. Push it to the limit. So he pushes. It looks like he's going to be winning some material. King d5 seems like the best move to keep an eye on rook c4. King takes instead. Okay. Oh, and now this pawn falls. Okay. This seems to be under control still for black. Under control. In fact, is it worse than under control? Is white losing? White might be losing. Yikes. Big yikes. Big. That's a hefty yikes from me if white loses this game. That's a hefty yikes. Rook g4 must have been missed. I think king d5 was required. That's a good find from PG and Autos here. c7 isn't enough. This is check. That move is also check. Now this move is check. Oh, but knight e8? King e7. Okay. And I believe Charlotte has secured victory in this match with 24.5 points. However, we have secured victory in the entire tournament with 21.5. So that is a secure victory for the St. Louis Chess Club. I believe we have secured first place in this tournament. And as expected, Rachel Lee is holding just fine here. So that will likely bring the score to 22-25. And then there should be one more game in progress somewhere. Looks like Chess Fans 2019 is still playing. Chess Fans 2019 on our team. Looks like he's playing for a win. He's got some good passed pawns here on the queen side. We're looking to make use of those. Okay, queen f4. You can take this pawn now. There's a check, but knight g8 is holding fine. Okay, check, knight g8. And this move threatens checkmate. Be careful. Okay. Just queen g6. Can't take here because of this check. Okay, now black is just pushing the pawns. I love it. Just push the pawns. Just push the pawns. Check! Okay, didn't insert the accurate check. Still some more work to be done here up the queen piece. Queen e8 is nice. Queen e4 is a check. Things are looking pretty good. I like the check. King g8 doesn't make so much sense. Your king needs some shelter behind these pawns. Okay, is he blocking with the knight? No, he's blocking with the queen. Just come back to h8, buddy. h8's better. h8's better. Just come back over. Just get back over there. Okay, don't repeat moves. Okay, queen e8 instead. Just king h8, not f8. Oh my goodness. Oh boy. Alright. Not the most accurate way to escape the checks. The king on g6 should be safe as well, because the queen can guard this diagonal. And now we have check. Okay, and now this is easy. This is easy. No more queens on the board. No more checks. Just save your knight and win this game. Save your knight and win this game. Just don't trade too many pawns. Just don't trade too many pawns. Okay, that moves a check. Just bring the knight to e3 now. Perfect. Bring the knight to f1. Hit this guy. Okay, and then king f4, king f5. Seems fine. Just king f5. Perfect. g4, we'll take it, and then king g5, and we're easily picking up that last pawn. Okay, we take king g5. No matter where this king goes, we have some way to pick up this pawn now. Yeah, knight takes pawn, and that'll be the match. That'll be the match. Rachel Lee, as expected, somehow managed to win this completely drawn rook endgame. Looks like she did it by attacking a rook and then taking a rook. Well done to her. So that brings the final score of this match against the Charlotte Chess Center to 25-23. So we don't get the super clean sweep, but we do get clear first place in this tournament. Clear first place. Good stuff. And also, actually, there might be some forfeitures. There might be some forfeitures here. I don't know the details, but if Charlotte failed to field a 25th player, then I believe we get some points by forfeit. I believe we get some points by forfeit. Because it looks like our 25th player didn't actually get to play. So we might have the best kind of victory. The victory by default. Incredible. There's some Homer Simpson quote that I won't force upon you guys. Okay, back to the only last game in progress here. Sorry, I stopped looking at it because black has queened, and black is now just going to checkmate the white king. And that'll do it. That will do it. Nice rally from Charlotte, to be sure. Okay. So, I believe that actually put Charlotte in the interesting position where they won all 3 of their matches, but we scored more match points. So we are, in fact, the champions. And in fact, actually, the final score is 23.5 to 24.5, which, if you mathematicians out there are aware, does not add up to 50. So it's supposed to be a 25-player match. So if Charlotte was missing a player, I believe that means we win this match by default as well. Yes, Eric, we did, in fact, definitely win the entire event. St. Louis Chess Club getting first place in this one. Definitely. Definitely. No way we didn't. No way we didn't. Thank you, Tsuba. Thank you, thank you. Okay, well, I think that just about does it for us here then. Thank you all very much for joining me for this incredibly exciting match between 3 other chess clubs spread throughout the nation. I had a lot of fun commentating on all these games. We had some really great players in the event. They played some really impressive chess. So great job to everyone involved on the St. Louis side. Thank you to all these other chess centers for getting involved in these online matches. We're having a lot of fun with them. Hopefully you guys at home are enjoying them as well. And with that in mind, my name is Caleb Denby. This has been a big online round robin between the St. Louis Chess Club that we ended up scoring first place.